We are now. Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. This is Manhattan Community Board 2's June full board meeting. I'm Valerie Della Rosa, the chair of Manhattan Community Board 2. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I want to welcome to everyone joining us here in the room and on Zoom, and we will start with attendance. So I will turn it over to our secretary, Emma Smith.
Thank you. How's that? Can you all hear me? Is it microphones though? Okay. I'm going to speak loudly. Oh, okay. Thanks, Mark. Lost the tooth. Okay. It is.
Yeah. Try this guy and I'll.
Okay. Perfect. Starting again. A reminder to new folks, please correct me on pronunciation of your name and we will begin. Susanna Aaron is absent with notification. William Benesh is absent with notification. Keen Berger. Carter Booth.
I'm here online.
Thanks, Carter. Katie Bordenaro. Anita Brandt. Anita Brandt. Oh, you're good. Thanks, Anita. Amy Brenna is absent with notification. Rich Cacapolo. Ritu Chatri. I don't see Ritu yet. Nina Chen. Valerie De La Rosa. Chris Dignas. Arturo Fernandez. Mara Fitzgerald. Okay, not here yet. Stella Fitzgerald is absent with notification. Cormac Flynn is absent with notification. Susan Gammy. David Gruber.
Online.
Thanks, David. JJ Herrera. DJ Jane. Juliet Kay. Zachary Krzaz.
Online.
Thanks, Zach. Susan Kent. Ryder Kessler. Janine Kiley. Patricia Laria. Thank you. Janet Liff. Benjamin Listman. Ed Ma, I believe is online. Yep. Thanks, Ed. Paul McDade. Erica Olson. Brian Pape is absent with notification. Matthew Pereira. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono is absent with notification. Brant Rossler is absent with notification. Sean Ryan. Hi, Sean. Rocio Sands. I see Rocio. I got you. Shirley Secunda. Thanks, Shirley. Edward Siegel is absent with notification. Frederica Siegel is absent with notification. Emma Smith here. Dr. Shirley Smith. Thank you. Chenault Spence.
Here.
I saw it. Thanks, Chenault. Sean Sweeney. Okay. Monica Weiss is absent with notification. Susan Wittenberg. Anthony Wong. Don't see it. Okay. Eugene Yu. Thank you. And we do have quorum.
Great, thank you so much. So now, yes. I hear that Councilmember Rivera has joined us. So let's, before we go to the public session, let's hear from Councilmember Carlina Rivera. Has she been promoted? Okay. So with that, thank you, Emma. Now we're going to begin our public session. Our first Vice Chair, Eugene Yu, is going to run that for us. Eugene?
Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. I will be calling on speakers for the public session. I will first call on is this microphone on? Okay, all right. I will first call on people who have signed up to speak. People in the room will be called on first, and then I'll move to people online on the Zoom session. If your name has not been called and you would still like to speak during the public session, either raise your hand when I finish calling members to speak in person or using the raised hand function online. So first, I have Catherine Swan in person. If you're here. And all speakers have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Hi, this is good? Hi. Okay, I'm Catherine Swan. I write the Washington Square Park blog, and it's washingtonsquareparkblog.com. I've written it for 17 years. I've tracked this Washington Square Park for a long time, gone to almost every community board, parks committee meeting addressing the park. And recently something came up that just was not right. And I wanted to bring it to the full board because, that's okay, thank you, thanks. Okay, because the full board was involved when the Washington Square Park Conservancy was approved to be involved with Washington Square Park. At the time, Community Board 2's Parks Committee passed a resolution in June of 2013 saying that the Washington Square Park Conservancy would have no formal agreement with parks, neither license agreement, memorandum of understanding, contract now or in the future, and that the Parks Department would maintain its authority and operational jurisdiction over Washington Square Park. That was really important. The public wanted that. People who had been involved in the redesign of the park, was all very contentious, but the Parks Committee held a meeting in June of 2013 and people came, and that was the result of the resolution. Fast forward to June 4th of this year, the Parks Committee holds a meeting about Washington Square Park, just billed as addressing management of Washington Square Park. Now, I've covered the park long enough that I knew that was a red flag. And management of Washington Square Park meant that Will Morrison, who's a decent guy, who had for a long time been the park administrator of Washington Square Park, and then was made executive director of the Washington Square Park Conservancy, came in and was like, oh, we're now going to have a license agreement with the city. Exactly what I read. That was not supposed to be the case.
You have 10 seconds.
It had happened. Sorry, there's so much context to this, and it's very hard to do in a short time. But I just felt that the full board needed to know that your Parks Committee has gone against the will of the public. And again, and I appreciate all the work that's done here, but this
Sorry,
is,
if you could wrap it up.
and so there's a lot more, and I don't know how else to sum it up. So
Lois? Oh, if you could use the microphone to speak. Yes, if we could get Lois a microphone. I can't give away mine. Thank you.
Yeah, is it on? You hear me? Could you explain, clarify, William Morrison is the administrator of the New York City Parks Department for Washington Square Park, and when he spoke, was he speaking as that role, or was he speaking as the Conservancy executive director regarding licensing? Because the Parks Department could do licensing, I think. Clarify. I was not at the meeting, and maybe somebody could clarify that.
yeah, I mean, I guess he was speaking in his Parks Department role. It's very confusing when someone wears two hats of a private sector and also a public. So the license agreement allows the Washington Square Park Conservancy to basically run the park, which they had not been able to before. The Parks Department ran the park and has for like a million years. So this shift to the license agreement shifts it onto a private entity. The Parks Department is more than capable of running Washington Square Park and has for, since like.
Did he say the Conservancy does the licensing?
All right, I think we're kind of the back and forth. If we could just kind of not do that. If you'd like to speak outside of the room afterwards. So I see Janine has her hand up, and then Dr. Smith.
Hi, is this working? Okay. I just want to clarify that a lot of us on community board too wear multiple hats. So which is totally fine. You just say, I am speaking as a Parks Department employee. So I just want to say, if you have a question at the next meeting, ask that at the beginning. And, maybe if the next time that happens, we'll make sure that clarifies. But I don't think it's bad to wear two hats as long as you clarify. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Dr. Smith?
Hi, I'm not sure I understand what the concern is. Are you saying that the committee here, Parks, did something that they were not supposed to do? I'm not understanding what you just said. So
Oh, no, I appreciate
provide
that.
a little better.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So basically, there was a resolution passed in 2013 that the Parks Committee passed that yes, the Community Board 2 Parks Committee, that the Washington Square Park Conservancy would not be involved in event planning, would not have a license agreement. A license agreement with the city gives them basically jurisdiction of the park. They run the park. Up to now, the Parks Department has run the park and done perfectly fine job. And it allows a bit of a buffer. So once you allow a private entity to run the park, they can do whatever they want with NYU, with private interests. And it's what the community did not want. And I just feel that this is not the way it should be handled. And at least the public should have been given a chance to respond to it instead of this vague management agenda item, which didn't say anything.
Okay,
Thank you for
great.
letting
Thanks
me
so much. Thank you so much. And again, there is no resolution from the Parks and Waterfront Committee this month to be voted on, just so everyone's clear. We're going to pause the public session and go to Councilmember Rivera, Councilmember Carlina Rivera, who has joined us online. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person. I just have, with the holiday tomorrow, have some childcare challenges, but I'm so thankful that I could be here with you. I just want to say a quick note. Well, first, let me just thank the board because you all come together and you do have, pretty serious discussions about very local things. And sometimes the resolutions or not, the outcome of this discussion outcomes, it's hard to really ensure that, that we take everybody's considerations into account and make everyone happy. I will say that I know Will does wear the two hats. I think he's doing a pretty good job in terms of a private entity entering and running a park. This does happen in other spaces. Madison Square Park Conservancy, for example, is just typically what happens is that the Parks Department is probably one of the most underfunded agencies across the city. And so I appreciate the comment about how the Parks has been doing a good job. I've actually received a lot of complaints about resources in the park. And even before I officially took over in representing Washington Square Park, I was doing walks with the NYPD, sanitation, the Parks Department, also mental health experts, people who work in substance abuse and addiction, all kinds of things to try to address the many, many issues and challenges. So I know there's vendors, there's all kinds of things, the students. So we really are trying to improve that park. We're thankful to the Conservancy. So if there are issues that are going on, whether you're concerned with privatization or bringing in certain entities, I hope you'll reach out to your local reps so we can ensure that everything is happening with community buy-in. I think that's really important. Okay, I just wanted to say that. The last thing I'll just mention is that, well, two things. One is I'm sure you've seen the headlines. We've made national headlines yesterday, the city, in terms of what's going on in Federal Plaza at Immigration Court, and City Comptroller Brad Lander was detained by ICE. He was released. A lot of questions as to the abuse of power or what's going on inside of the federal courts. I will tell you that the council and many of the council members do go into the court. I think what we're really focused on right now is ensuring that we're providing programs and services the way we always do for vulnerable families and for people that are seeking citizenship, that are on the legal path in terms of their immigration status. And so we're trying on multiple fronts to sort of address this issue, but clearly this is something that's happening across the country. Some people at other community boards have asked, what can I do? There are very, very hyper local things in terms of helping local families. And then of course, there's just reaching out to your reps, to us, as to your opinions, but also pressure on various, levels of government as to what the right course should be in dealing with these issues. I did mention the budget. We're spending a lot of time on the budget right now. As you know, the state, as you might know, the state passed the budget a little late. So we're sort of really ramping up the time that we're spending to pass what is estimated to be $119 billion budget. I'm on the budget negotiation team, which is a small subset of council members. It is an absolute privilege to be on the budget negotiation team. And so we're discussing the issues that are important to us, which is, I think, people experiencing homelessness, people experiencing mental health issues, so public safety generally. And then, of course, quality of life issues that are noise, sanitation, and just, really ensuring that we're working with the city agencies to address some of your concerns. So I wanted to come in. I'm sorry I took a bit of time talking about the first issue. We've just spent a lot of time in Washington Square Park trying to make those improvements. So I wanted to make sure everybody felt heard. And then the last thing is we just introduced the bill to expedite sidewalk repairs. Under the current law, the Department of Transportation may direct property owners to fix cracked, broken, or even collapsed sidewalks, but there is no fine for ignoring these orders. So we're trying to take an approach where we've talked to multiple stakeholders. We're hoping for a hearing soon to expedite repairs. I will tell you, we have the oldest case right now in our office. There's been someone trying to get a sidewalk fixed for months. Right now, you might see multiple curb cuts under construction. That was with advocacy from our office and from many of you. I will say that they're fixing a lot of the curb cuts right now at the same time. So while I am ecstatic that we're finally getting these improvements, navigating certain intersections of the district have been a bit challenging. So if you're experiencing that at one of your local intersections, please let me know. I want to make sure that everyone feels that pedestrian safety clearly is my priority. So I guess that's it. You have a community board report with some other items. Biani is there in person. I always want to thank Biani for representing our office. And with that, I'll send it back to you all.
Thank you. We have a question. Can we get a microphone to Dr. Smith? Thank you. Dr. Smith?
First of all, thank you so much. I thought this microphone was on. Thanks for coming, but you referenced at the beginning of your conversation something about a holiday. What holiday were you referring to is my question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Tomorrow is Juneteenth, which is actually a federal holiday. And so multiple schools, daycares specifically, had half days, the day off tomorrow, the day after closed. So forgive me for the confusion, but it is Juneteenth.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions online or in the room for Councilmember Rivera? Okay, can we get a microphone to Keen? Thank you so much.
I, of course, am very proud of Brad Lander, but what exactly is the council doing to support him?
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, Brad is someone who's actually gone into the court a few times along with my colleagues. I've also been in federal court witnessing specifically cases for unaccompanied minors. So we're there in solidarity to support him. He has attorneys. We work with various organizations that provide legal support to him. We're also calling, out the administration. We're working with the State Department, so he also feels supported, as you probably noticed. Kathy Hochul showed up yesterday, which I think was a pretty big foot to enter the space. And we are also funding programs and services that help these very families that he is in there in terms of witnessing what they're going through. So while he's there as a He was there as a physical person. Many of us are in the courthouse as well. And we're funding services, legal services, housing, health, education services that help these very families that are in those courthouses. We're also calling on Congress to pass families together. This is actually very reminiscent of my first year in office when Trump was president, and I passed a resolution, the Keep Families Together Act, and I did an emergency hearing as a chair of hospitals about ICE present in our hospital system. So now the chair of the Immigration Committee is Alexa Aviles. I think she's doing a really good job in leading on this issue. So that's being physically present, supporting Brad with whatever help he may need. But again, I think really important is helping the very families he was there to witness.
Thank you so much. Seeing that there's no other questions in the room or online, thank you so much, Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you.
Next, before we go back to the public session, I do know that we do have somebody from the Borough President's Office that is managing multiple, managing multiple boards. So Braca Rosenberg will go to the Borough President's Office report. Hi, did I say your name correctly?
Bracha Rosenberg, yes.
Okay.
Hi,
Okay.
I'm covering for Andrew tonight. And thanks for letting me speak now. I just have a couple of updates from our office. So to start with, our President Mark Levine recently penned an op-ed in AM New York highlighting the success of the zero interest loan program he started with the Hebrew Free Loan Society to help small businesses access affordable capital and to grow. You can read that on our website. Manhattan Borough President also recently participated at a rally urging Albany to pass the Stop Super Speeders bill, mandating speed limiter technology for the most dangerous drivers. He also recently attended a press conference to support legislation from Councilmember Christopher Marte and Councilmember Keith Powers that introduces reforms to address longstanding issues of fraud, aggressive sales tactics, and consumer deception in the ticketing industry. For tours, ferries, and other attractions. So the proposed legislation will require business licenses for ticket seller operators, not just individual sellers. It will establish stricter penalties and allow for the revocation of licenses for repeat violations. It will prohibit aggressive and deceptive vending tactics and mandate clear identification for legitimate sellers to prevent impersonation of government or official services. Further, the Manhattan Borough President recently urged the Rent Guidelines Board to vote for a rent freeze for rent-stabilized tenants in 2025 after 3 consecutive years of rent increases. The board will have a final vote on Wednesday, the 25th. Public hearings are ongoing until then. The last couple of things are that we have, in partnership with Hudson Guild, we'll be hosting a summer constituent services pop-up on Thursday, the 26th of June. From 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Hudson Guild, 119 9th Avenue. Borough President's Office staff can assist with housing, like NYCHA or HPD, social services, like SNAP, cash assistance, fair fares, city agency issues, like with DOB, DOT, DOF, and general city resources. Last thing, the Manhattan Borough President staff and the Borough President himself, together with volunteers, will be marching in the annual Pride Parade on the 29th on Sunday. So come march with us. Feel free to email events@manhattanbp.nyc.gov if you want to march with us. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much, and happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any questions in the room or online. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now we will go back to the elected reports in just a minute. We're going to finish up the public session. So I'm going to turn it back over to our first vice chair, Eugene Yu.
Thank you, Valerie. We'll return to the public session. The next speaker we have that signed up is online, Darlene Lutz. Just a reminder, Darlene, you have 2 minutes to speak. And I believe you should be elevated. Could we elevate Darlene? Okay, great. Thank you. That's it. Yes. Okay.
Good evening. Good evening. I hope I'm live because I had problems connecting the other night. Yes?
We can hear you, Darlene.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I did want to follow up on, great meeting with Landmarks regarding the artist proposed mural, the gigantic, appropriated face of Jean-Michel Basquiat on the side of 344 Bowery, which I feel is inappropriate in all sorts of ways for the that manifestation. And I appreciate the committee for recognizing that this is not how cultural and cultural voice in our communities is really best done. So thank you, Landmarks, and good evening, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Darlene. Do we have any questions for Darlene? She was referencing the Landmarks resolution regarding the mural for Jean-Michel Basquiat. Any questions in the room or online? I do not see any. Okay. If there's anyone else that I've missed in the public session, feel free to raise your hand or online. Otherwise, I think we're done with the public session.
Thank you, Eugene. That is the end of our public session. Now we are going to move on to the rest of our agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, great. The agenda is adopted. Now we're going to move on to the reports to the public. We will start with our elected official reports. If you're here in the room, if you'd like to come up to the microphone, if you have a report to give from elected official offices. Okay. Oh, I see that's moved. Okay. Over here.
Hi, everybody. This works? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, you have 2 minutes. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Connor from Councilmember Christopher Marte's office. Just a couple quick things. So in terms of legislation, last week, Councilmember Marte introduced Bill Intro 1307 to create a film, TV, and theater accessibility fund to increase the number of people with disabilities in those industries. Right now, we're hearing from meeting with disability rights advocates that there's a big discrepancy in the industry in terms of accessibility for people with disabilities in those roles, primarily because production studios are not willing to pay for those accessibility improvements and accommodations for people with disabilities, either in the crew or in the cast. They often have to pay for them themselves. That can be like ramps on set or accessibility to trailers, ASL interpreters, a whole host of problems. And so rather than leaving the onus on the individuals, the legislation would set up this fund, and it's a budget that's like 2% of the average production budget. So it's really not that much. And if the fund is accessible through grants from the city, then we hope that that can help close that gap in terms of access that people with disabilities have for the TV and film industry. So that bill was introduced this past month. Also, our resolution calling for the passage of Assemblymember Gallagher's social housing bill that I've mentioned over the last couple of full board meetings had a hearing on June 3rd, in addition to a package of bills geared towards supporting social housing in New York. So Councilmember Marte testified in addition to a whole host of other people. The hearing was like over 4 hours long, and there was a lot of support for social housing in New York, so it was very exciting. We look forward to the passing of the state bill as well. In terms of the budget, something just outside of CB2, but we're excited about, was we were able to allocate $250,000 to improve Barnett Newman Triangle. So that was very exciting. And then finally, At the beginning of the month, the council member attended a rally asking for affordable housing built on the site of the Manhattan Borough-based jail. This includes citing adaptive reuse facility at the existing MCC just nearby. We've seen that Rikers doesn't seem like it's going to be closing by the deadline. We want to make sure that that happens. And the budget is ballooned to around $3.7 billion for this new jail facility. So we're still fighting with the community to see if we can find alternatives that address the jail population, close Rikers, and also build much needed affordable housing. That's it.
Don't have any questions for Connor in the room or online? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. So yeah, just to kick off here, first of all, happy Pride Month. No one's mentioned that yet, so I'm going to mention it. Yeah, woo. And then in addition to Juneteenth tomorrow, I also wanted to point out very cruelly ironic that it's National Immigration Heritage Month right now, which National Immigration Heritage Month right now. Thank you. Yeah, so just wanted to, say, we want to acknowledge, what's been going on, especially in light of events yesterday. And, this month should be about celebrating everything that immigrant communities have brought to this country. So just wanted to mention that. The main piece of news is that the Senate, the state legislature wrapped up session this week. The Senate had their last day of session on Thursday last week, and then the Assembly wrapped up yesterday. Some of the main highlights for us were passing a bill about the Board of Elections. This is something that we did with Assemblymember Grace Lee. It requires the Board of Elections to provide timely notice of polling place changes to voters, elected officials, and political committees. It's been advanced by both houses of the state legislature, so it's on to the governor to sign. We want to see that enacted so that we can have that for next year's elections. Another, something that I brought up in previous months, full board meetings, is our SCREE, DREE, and SHE&D bills. It was a whole package of bills, some of them sponsored by us, some of them sponsored by other senators and assembly members, to help improve and expand those programs, to freeze rents and offer tax abatements for homeowners who are seniors or disabled. So we're happy to celebrate that Senate Bill S 1457A, which raised the income threshold for SCREE, DREE, SHE-D, passed the Senate. Yeah, but did not unfortunately pass the Assembly, but that's something that we're going to continue to fight for next year. We also were able to get disparate impact passed in both houses to codify fair housing protections that are at the federal level, and we codify them at the state level. One last thing I'll just mention is that we have public sessions going on right now. Con Edison is in the midst of negotiating a rate change for utility rates. So there are public comments going on right now. And it's about electric and gas delivery rates and practices for Con Edison. I filed amendments to their tariff schedules on January 31st for the 12-month period ending in December 31st. So the one that's going to be taking place in Manhattan is Tuesday, July 8th from 1 to 6 p.m. So it's going to be at the Borough Manhattan Community City College at 199 Chambers Street. So you can go there, give public comment, and give your feedback. I'll end it there. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Sharif Krabti. I'm a Community Affairs Liaison for State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. Yeah.
If you could get a microphone over there, please, Arturo.
All right. Well, okay. I just had a question on, does Senator Kavanaugh, is he working on the New York for All Act and moving that forward? You mentioned a few topics surrounding immigration, so that's a pretty active piece of, well, I wish it was more active piece of legislation at the state level.
Yeah, so we're co-sponsors on that bill. I think, it was a push to get it done this Senate session. Unfortunately, did not pass either chamber. So session's over right now. That's done for this year. But, that's to say, assuming that it's brought up again for next session and there's another push to pass it, we'll be co-sponsors on that again, absolutely.
Hi. I just want to say I think there's been some talk about a special session being called for the purpose of addressing the bill. So that's also an option that I think many of us would be supportive of.
Yep, good point.
Great. And if you could please wait to be called on. Thank you so much. Is there anyone online with questions and anyone else in the room? Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caroline Wexelbaum. I'm representing State Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel. Happy Pride, everyone. As Sharif mentioned, we wrapped up session in the Senate last week and the Assembly wrapped up this week. But we're, as many people know, we're in a dark moment for LGBTQ plus rights. Just today, the Trump administration pulled funding for specialized support for LGBTQ callers to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And sorry, that was yesterday. And today, the Supreme Court handed down a decision to uphold Tennessee's ban on gender affirming care for minors, which is awful. It basically allows, I believe it's 20 states to withhold gender affirming care. But fortunately, today's decision does not change the fact that New York State is and always will be a safe haven for LGBTQ plus New Yorkers, including those pursuing gender affirming care. And we have a bill that passed, Trans Shield bill, that ensures that even in the face of hostility from other states, New York will continue to protect providers, recipients, and facilitators of gender affirming care. So that's really important. But what probably the biggest piece of legislation that passed this session, at least for us, is medical aid in dying. This has been years in the making, and probably is one of like the biggest pieces of legislation Senator Hoylman Siegel said he had passed in his career. So it's a big deal. It's waiting for the governor's signature. And there are a number of other bills we passed in the last few weeks. You can read about them in our board report. Any questions?
Any questions for Caroline online or in the room? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to give a report from an elected official office? Seeing none, I do see we have Nicole Barth online from Councilmember Eric Botcher's office.
Hi, everybody. Happy Pride. I'm sorry I'm not there with you in person. And I just have a couple things I wanted to share with you. It's been a really busy week in our office. Councilmember Botcher hosted a rally yesterday alongside gun safety advocates ahead of a city council hearing on groundbreaking legislation, first in the nation gun safety legislation, and that is to require the display of graphic public health warnings in gun stores. If that's enacted, it's Intro 1016. It would be the first law in the nation to require gun retailers to display graphic imagery alongside written warnings, illustrating the dangers of gun ownership in the home. Also this week, we had another rally today, and that was for the Social Workforce Act resolution. And they rallied in support of Resolution 362, which urges passage of the Federal Social Workforce Act. And that's legislation that would address the national social worker shortage by removing unnecessary standardized testing barriers to licensure. Upcoming rallies, and I'll put this all in the chat. We have one on June 23rd, and that is Intro 741, ban on city purchase of single-use plastic water bottles. We have a resolution on June 25th, And that is a resolution calling for the enactment of the Support Act, which mandates mental health care post-discharge for individuals that are found unfit to stand trial. And lastly, on June 25th, another resolution 272, and this resolution is calling for passage of the Gender Identity, Respect, Dignity, and Safety Act, and that is relating to placement and treatment of incarcerated individuals based on their gender identity. I'll put this on the chat along with all our regular information about our clinics and any other current news. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole. Do we have any questions for Nicole in the room or on Zoom? Okay, thanks so much. Is there, I think we also have Hayden, there's like a little bit of feedback on this. Hayden Ryan from Assemblymember Grace Lee's office on Zoom.
Yes, that's right. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Hayden Ryan from Assemblymember Grace Lee's office. I serve as the Director of Special Projects. So first, I just want to, as some of my colleagues have already done, wish everyone a happy Pride Month and a happy Juneteenth. Our first major update is that we're excited to share that we've welcomed a new member to our team. Daniel Mejia has recently joined us as our new constituent liaison. He brings decades of experience working with NYCHA residents across the city, and so we're thrilled to have his expertise on board to better help and support our constituents. I'd have several legislative updates. In Albany, Assemblymember Lee had a very successful session. 4 of her priority bills have passed the Assembly. The first is her LM REAP bill. It renews and expands the Lower Manhattan Relocation and Employment Assistance Program, and that'll support our local businesses by helping to fill vacant office space and encouraging economic activity downtown. That has passed both the Assembly and the Senate, so we're excited to see the governor hopefully sign it into law. Our second major bill is her AANHPI survey bill. It would require the State Education Commissioner to survey how Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander history is being taught in our schools. And it'll also create an advisory committee to improve future standards. And so that's a really big step forward for inclusive education in New York, and that's a bill that the Assembly member is very proud to have passed. Our third bill is her Brownfield bill. You might have heard us discuss this previously because we've worked on it in previous sessions. But it speeds up support for communities affected by potential toxic sites by allowing them to access technical assistance as soon as that cleanup project is approved. And then finally, as Sharif already mentioned, we're very excited about the Board of Elections bill that we worked together with Senator Kavanaugh's office on. It passed the Assembly, and it increases transparency by requiring advance notification when polling sites are moved, so that communities are not caught off guard during elections. That wraps it up for the legislative updates. Just before I wrap up, a few quick upcoming events we'd love for you to join. First is our Rhythms of LES. It's our second
not hear me?
annual iteration.
Yeah, if you could just maybe do one event.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll just do this one then. It's happening next Thursday, June 26th at 5 p.m. At Soul Lane Playground in the Lower East Side. It's a celebration of Puerto Rican culture with music, food, community, dancing. Excuse me. We'll be there from 5 to 7 p.m. and would really love anyone to join. Please reach out to our office if you're interested. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions in the room for Hayden from Assemblymember Grace Lee's office, or anyone on Zoom with questions on the board? I can't see if there's any hands. Can someone let me know? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to go to Robin Forst from the mayor's office.
Hi, how's everybody tonight? Echoing what was just said, happy Juneteenth and happy Pride Month. It's been a month full of wonderful activities. I really don't have a report per se, but I'm happy to take any questions. I know you have a big agenda, and I'll defer till next meeting. And if there are none, that's fine too. And
Sorry, just one second. Are there any questions for Robin Forst from the mayor's office in the room or on Zoom from board members? Okay, Ryder, can we get a microphone?
Hi there. I'm not aware if the mayor has said anything yet about the arrest of Brad Lander by ICE yesterday, as the last time I checked, he hadn't. But do you know if the mayor has any thoughts about ICE arresting the comptroller? Thanks.
I don't know if he's made a statement. I will check on that. I was actually out of the office today, but I will check. I think all the, a lot of people in government made comments, and I will check and circle back with the office with Mark and Valerie, okay?
Thank you so much, Ryder, and thank you, Robin, for getting back to us on that. Seeing as there are no other questions for Robin, are there any other elected official representatives on Zoom that I have not called on? Okay, Tracy Jackson from Assemblymember Glick's office.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Valerie. I'm Tracy from Assemblymember Glick's office, and welcome to the new board members. I hope to see you in person in July with this assembly member as well. As my colleagues mentioned, we concluded our session yesterday. It was actually last night, just after midnight. And I will start with a great disappointment. Deborah's packaging reduction and recycling bill was not brought to the floor for a vote. It had been passed through all of the appropriate committees and was added to the debate list. So even late yesterday, we thought there was still a chance. And unfortunately, in the final compressed weeks of session, the plastics industry spent an enormous amount of money to spread misinformation, and they were able to undermine the broad support that we had built through the session. So that was quite a frustration. On a more positive note, we were able to pass legislation to reauthorize the city's school zone speed camera program. We also passed a bill with Senator Kavanaugh that would ensure the safe disposal of lithium-ion batteries like those used in e-bikes. Right now, there is no requirement to dispose them other than putting them in a landfill, which we know to be a fire hazard. Other bills that Deborah was able to pass are in our board report. And then on the local front, I'll just note that the Rent Guidelines Board has actually extended their deadline for receiving comments on the proposed rent increases. They're now accepting comments through June 30th, and they have added a public hearing in Manhattan on Friday, June 27th at 10 a.m. Those details are also in our board report. And finally, Arturo and maybe Ryder, I know you mentioned the New York for All Act. Assemblymember Glick is also a co-sponsor of that bill. And yes, I would just reiterate that we also expect that as needed, the legislature will be called back to Albany to deal with some of the federal actions. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Tracy. Do we have any questions for Tracy Jackson from Assemblymember Glick's office? Here in the room, I see Ben Listman. Can we, if you know you're going to have a question, it's good to maybe find the microphone. So if we could find a microphone for Ben, now we have to wait a few minutes to get that going. That would be helpful if you do know you have a question to start making yourself find that microphone. Thanks.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you. I was wondering if the representative had any comments on the Stop Super Speeders bill that hasn't really made its way through the assembly at this point. A 2299B, I think.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know if I don't have any specific insight into why it didn't move. I do know that Assemblymember Glick is a co-sponsor. But I can certainly check with our legislative director to see where the obstacle was. But since she wasn't the prime sponsor, we weren't quite as close to whatever needed to happen there. But I can get back to the board with that.
Okay, we can get a mic. Thank you so much. And next we have Katie Bordnar. If we can get a microphone to Katie.
Thank you. Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you. Brian Kavanaugh's office was reporting about the Scree bill and the fact that it went very well in the Senate, but despite our rally at the municipal building, didn't do so well in the Assembly. Is there any chance that it would be considered in this special session? Is that only going to be for the federal issues? Is there any way to move on this really important piece of legislation sooner rather than
yes.
next year?
Yeah, thank you. I will say that it's highly unlikely that that would be something that would come up in a special session, but you never know. I mean, a special session would likely be called specifically to address either budget concerns or other ways to mitigate some of the federal actions. I can certainly mention it to Assemblymember Glick. Sometimes if during a special we can slip something else in, you know, everybody tries to do that. It's my understanding that that bill got stuck in the Committee on Aging in the Assembly. So in terms of future advocacy, it may be helpful for some more outreach to the chair of the Committee on Aging. It's certainly on our priority list, and we're frustrated that that didn't get through either this session.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there anyone else with a question for Tracy Jackson from Assemblymember Glick's office here in the room or on Zoom? And I'm speaking specifically to board members. I don't see any hands raised online, is that correct? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tracy. And seeing, sorry, is there a question or just a wave? Okay. So great. So with that, we've done the borough president's report, and now we will move on to the chair's report. First of all, again, thank you to our gracious host, NYU, for hosting us again this evening. And thank you to the CB2 staff and Mark Diller for getting us ready for today. And we do have a new, tech team in place. Hello. And Mark will talk more about that during his report. And thank you to our board members who filled out the quorum roll call form for tonight's meeting, ensuring that we can start on time this evening. So with that, let me go into my report. Fiscal year 2026 starts in 12 days. We are in 18 weeks or 127 days. This group will vote on capital and expense budget priorities for fiscal year 27 at the October full board meeting. The leadership teams of chairs and vice chairs of the committees on this board are hard at work. Nearly every non-application driven committee chair has outlined a 6-month outlook for their agendas, and they are full of forward-thinking ideas to help not only guide us towards the next budget cycle, but into 2026, providing a framework for planning and leadership succession. In addition to that, I want to address an issue that has come up regarding St. Luke's Church and the new mission building that is being planned at Christopher and Hudson. For all facts related to this project, I direct you to 2 resources: the frequently asked questions that the church leadership team has put together, and we'll have somebody up here, we'll drop that into the chat a little bit after this report, or I will drop it after I'm done here. And I also urge everyone to read the excellent report from the Human Services Committee, June 2024, actually a year ago this month, when Mother Stacy from St. Luke's Church briefed CB2 on the church's plans for the new mission building. There was an article that had come out around Memorial Day weekend, and there was a lot of misinformation that's been communicated. We've received a lot of inbound inquiries regarding that, the board office, from the public. So at the meeting last June, there were several people from the community who gave testimony to the Human Services Committee and to Mother Stacy at that time. Manhattan Community Board 2 has no formal role in approving the operations of this building, and nor does CB2 have a formal role in communicating feedback on the building operations to any city, state, or federal agency. Mother Stacy of St. Luke's is reaching out to neighbors and their congregation regarding the new building. She is open to meeting with anyone who wants to know more about the project as it stands. Once the Landmarks Preservation Commission, known as LPC, the CB2 Landmarks Committee will review the application in that context. The mandate of landmarks is to evaluate how the building fits within the context of the Greenwich Village Historic District. And while we understand that landmarks does not opine on the use of the building or the operations, we know that our community will show up to discuss those items regardless of the venue. Should another meeting under the aegis of Human Services be needed to specifically address any additional concerns, we will evaluate it at that time. Are there any questions I can answer regarding that topic? Okay, don't see anyone on Zoom. As I shared at the executive, I'm sorry, is there a hand?
My hand's raised.
Okay, Chenault.
This building is not new. Many years ago, they came with a full plan for the campus, and this was one of aspect of it. And at that time, they said it would come some years later.
That is correct. That is correct. It was in 2013, I believe. It was on the site plan, but they will have more formal elevations and plans to share with the community once that is referred from LPC. That is the Landmarks Preservation Commission, for anyone not familiar with that acronym. And then we will see their plans at that time. So there's no meeting before at Human Services or anything. There's no use in having them come twice and then to have to produce drawings or have information that's not ready for public consumption. I will add one quick tidbit to that before moving on, is that this past Sunday, Mother Stacy did share to the congregation a very preliminary drawing, a rendering of the building. So I'm sure that's available on their website. And again, we can drop those links in the chat. Great. As I shared at the executive committee meeting, Shirley Secunda is stepping down from her role as the traffic and transportation chair. This change will take effect immediately. Excuse me? If we could maybe mute. This change takes effect immediately. Okay. Shirley and I have had several conversations long before I even took over as chair regarding this leadership transition and the Traffic and Transportation Committee. Janine Kiley will serve as the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee moving forward, and I have every confidence in her ability to guide the committee in the months ahead. Janet Liff will serve as the vice chair of the committee. Leadership's transitions, especially after, if we could just maybe hold the applause, leadership transitions, especially after long and meaningful tenures, are never simple, but they are essential for healthy governance. This appointment reflects the board's need to continue evolving and looking ahead, and while honoring the very, very strong foundation which is already in place. I am grateful to both Shirley and Janine approaching this transition with professionalism and care, and I ask the full board to support them both during this handoff. I also want to take some time to recognize Shirley Secunda for her remarkable 17 years of service in her role as the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee at Manhattan Community Board 2. 17 years. That is this is now appropriate if you'd like to. That is a truly extraordinary tenure, and her contributions have left a lasting mark on this board and this district. Shirley brought deep professional knowledge as an urban planner and a fierce commitment to public process. She's been a leader on everything from pedestrian safety upgrades and traffic calming, a phrase that didn't really exist when she first took over that role and is now very much a part of the vocabulary that we speak about when we are talking about these topics. To Hudson Street protected bike lane, to preserving community access during the M14 bus rollout. She pushed for better lighting, public plazas, and neighborhood slow zones, always with an eye towards how real people experience our streets. She's led with diligence, fairness, and persistence, and she's collaborated effectively with DOT, MTA, advocates, and electeds alike. Her resolutions were precise, her meetings were thorough, her leadership unwavering. Shirley will continue serving on the committee, and her voice remains invaluable, but it's also important for our committees to continue evolving and to have the opportunity for new leadership to guide us forward. I know that Janine will bring strong energy, knowledge, and vision to this role, and I look forward to working closely with her. Shirley, on behalf of the entire board and the community you've served so well, thank you. Your legacy lives in safer, stronger, more connected streets of CB2, and we are better for your leadership. Thank you. Say something. Can we get her a remote microphone, please?
Yeah, so oh, should I say that too? Yeah, I've been on the board 35 years. Can you believe that? 2 years old, I started at. Yeah, as I said last night, when I started as chair of the TNT committee, I brought in the word traffic calming. Traffic calming was unheard of. It's like part of our vocabulary. So I just wanted to comment on that because I think it shows how far we've gone since then in terms of accommodating pedestrians and bicyclists besides the motor vehicle. And we're continuing. And by the way, it's a terrific committee, terrific members, I've got to say about all of them. And they will continue to forge ahead to make our streets even safer, more comfortable, and more accessible.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Shirley. And again, I hope everyone will come say something to Shirley after the meeting and whatnot. And again, she's not going anywhere and she's still on the committee. And I know that we certainly will continue to ask her questions and gain just an ounce of what she's contributed and knowledge that we all can hope to bring forward. So thank you so much, Shirley. Now I turn it over to Mark Diller for the district manager's report.
All right, thanks. So we already thanked NYU, but I renew and add my thanks to them. I also have a big thank you to the committee chairs. We got our full board package done in time despite having one fewer day. So I'm grateful for everybody who cooperated with that. That was terrific. I want to welcome Jonathan Leroy from Colloid Studios. Jonathan is, we hope, will be with us for some time. And we want to thank folks online who are telling us about the audio. I have recently learned just how hard it is. If you've seen me at meetings recently, I'm not multitasking. I'm wearing headphones because you have to adjust the sound. Thank you for demonstrating that. You have to adjust the sound for each person. So it's no small task, and we're grateful to have professionals that know what they're doing. A couple of notes, the e-blast that usually goes out on Friday will go out on Monday for reasons having to do with meeting deadlines. So anybody who has an update to an agenda, as the chair said, we have the look aheads now, so that's very helpful for the e-blast. But if there are updates, please get them to me by, say, close of business Friday instead of Friday morning. Calendar updates, I think you know these, but just in case, and for folks at home, this SLA 1 is now going to meet on Tuesday, July 1st. SLA 2 moves to Tuesday, July 8th. And Schools and Education moved from their June date to July 2nd, which is a Wednesday. Thanks to your resolution on Intro 1065, which would have term limited me, which resolution, by the way, was copied by several other boards. That we all testified to. The district managers converged on City Hall and testified on a variety of bills. By the way, there's some other bills out there, including one that would require every full board to be video conferenced, which of course we do. But not every board has the equipment that we're using, the ability to hire an expert, and a room that is accommodating for those purposes. So we've been slowly but surely accruing all these things over the years, but part of that is because of the way our staff works. So the message that DMs gave was, if you're going to add responsibilities to our boards, add to our budgets. And as I think I've already told you, the baseline budget, other than for salary increases, hasn't changed in 17 years. So we're working on that. The chair mentioned the district needs statement and the statement of budget priorities. I'll add that the Department of City Planning has a survey that we put on our website last year, and it yielded some interesting results. So I've asked the Department of City Planning to send us that link, and we'll be putting that in our e-blast basically every week from July until the end of September. And it is another resource for our board and our committees. I understand that there's been an email poltergeist in my full board messaging. Some folks who have been with us for a very long time suddenly dropped off the list. I'll have words with Microsoft, but meanwhile, if you didn't get this week's board package, please email me that fact, and I will look for you and make sure you put you back on the list. For everybody, the council members have all reported on their participatory budgeting results and process, but there is also a citywide participatory budgeting process, and the voting is still going on, I believe, until June 25th. You can vote online at participate.nyc.gov. It is borough by borough, so you'll be voting on Manhattan projects. There are other projects that are in the tree neighborhoods, the Task Force on Racial Inclusion and Equity, but we don't get to vote on those. There's none of those. Our district doesn't include any of those areas, but there are ones for Manhattan-wide. These are expense, by the way, as opposed to council, which is capital. And there is an opportunity also to vote in person on this at the door, which is at 555 Broome Street on Monday through Friday from 10 to 6. And I'm going to leave it there unless there are questions. Thanks. Not seeing any.
I don't see any other. Thank you, Mark. Now we're going to go into business session. So let's start with attendance. I will turn it over to our secretary, Emma Smith.
Thanks, Valerie. Okay. Keen Berger, Carter Booth, Katie Bordenaro, Anita Brandt, Rich Cacapolo, Ritu Chatri, Nina Chen, Valerie De La Rosa, Chris Dignas, Arturo Fernandez, Mara Fitzgerald, okay. Susan Gammy, David Gruber, I think still online. David, I see you. Yeah, David, can you hear us? Okay, we'll come back. JJ Herrera, DJ Jane, Juliet Kay, Zachary Kazaz.
Here.
Thanks, Zach. Susan Kent, Ryder Kessler, Janine Kiley, Patricia Laria, Janet Liff, Benjamin Listman, Ed Ma. I see him waving. Thanks, Ed. Paul McDade, Erica Olson, Matthew Pereira, Donna Raftery, Lois Rakoff, Sean Ryan, Rocio Sands, Shirley Secunda, Emma Smith, present, Dr. Shirley Smith, Chenault Spence.
Here.
Thanks, Chenault. Sean Sweeney. Thank you. Susan Wittenberg, Anthony Wong, Eugene Yu. Thanks all.
Thank you, Emma. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, is there a motion to approve the May full board minutes? Okay, great. So I see a first from Susan Gammy and then Susan Kent, the second. Great. So let's move on to the resolutions from our standing committees. We have 97 resolutions, not including FY renewal on street activities and not including layovers on SLA. Committee chairs, please only state the therefore be it resolves in your resolution. We are operating with the sense that board members have read the resolutions in the full board packet. So let's start with land use. And Eugene, will you be presenting? Great.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Valerie. So the June Land Use and Housing report and resolution is a response to the New York City Charter Revision Commission and as well as the New York City Commission to Strengthen Local Democracy, two committees that are presenting recommendations to update the city charter. I'll read the therefore be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan 1 opposes a reduction in the ULURP period, the Uniform Land Use Review period, review process from 90 days to 60 days, which would diminish the time for the public to weigh in on projects that have lasting effects on the local framework of the city. 2, advises that the commission's focus on ULURP timelines completely ignores the importance and impact of the pre-certification phase, where developers, recognizing the importance of local and community board input, invest the time and effort to engage the community in order to produce a better outcome. 3, fails to see the benefit of running concurrent public reviews at the community board and borough president levels when the reviews should roll up to the community board level to the borough president. 4, finds it difficult to support the recommendation of a streamlined ULURP for small projects as well as categorically beneficial projects, given that these terms are not sufficiently defined. 5, supports a local review process that could benefit projects deemed categorically beneficial. 6, does not support changes in the roles of the borough presidents, city council speaker, members of the city council, and community boards that would diminish local community input. 7, strongly opposes the creation of a 3-member panel that could override the decisions of the democratically elected 51-member city council with just 2 votes from a mayoral appointed troika. 8, disagrees with efforts to weaken member deference, particularly when member deference is not even codified in the city council, and also that the role of the local council members is to be experts on local issues. Number 9, finds the mayor's commission's suggestions for comprehensive planning inadequate. As an example, when rezonings occur, there should be a requirement for much needed investment in impacted infrastructure and local services. 10, agrees with the recommendation to increase the number of votes on the CPC required to disapprove a land use action if the community board, borough president, and borough board all recommend approval of land use action, giving more weight to local input. 11, finds that the recommendation of adding a zoning administrator requires additional definition as well as specifics on how community input would be preserved for processes that are decided by such an administrator. Number 12, opposes rules that would weaken public input and influence over revocable consent and franchises. 13, supports efforts to modernize and digitize the city map, as long as the commission can reference all aspects of the map and respect borough-specific conventions. 14, recommends that ULURP can be improved by allocating additional resources to community boards to aid in larger, more complex applications such as rezonings and changes to the zoning text. Further be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan recommends that a process be put in place to examine the effectiveness of large land use actions such as rezonings in order to gather metrics on the net additions to the housing stock, including the types of housing, the number and square footage of housing units, and analysis of displaced residents, the mix of residential versus office and commercial uses, and whether the stated goals of the land use action were ultimately successful. This sorely needed analysis would help guide communities in navigating future proposed land use actions. The committee did not have quorum at our land use meeting, so no vote was taken on this resolution.
Great, thank you. So we have item 1 for land use. Does anybody have any discussion or clarification questions? If you could get yourself a microphone, we can start with I can start calling on people. So we'll go with Ryder Kessler first.
Thanks. So it's Pride Month, and one of the elected reps earlier talked about how, in spite of the Supreme Court decision today to ban gender-affirming care for trans youth in 20 states, New York is a safe haven. But we are not a safe haven if people cannot afford to live here, and we are in an affordability crisis. Rents are rising 7 times faster than wages. We have a 1.4% vacancy rate. We have record numbers of folks unhoused, and families are fleeing to less tolerant places because cost of living is out of control. ULURP needs to be reformed. It's not working. If it were working well, we would not be in the place we are in with this drastic housing shortage. I think substantively, we should be encouraging reforms to ULURP and being kind of proactive, positive partners in addressing what's not working. And I think right now the resolution is too negative vis-a-vis the state of the world. I want to read 2 quick paragraphs from the Charter Commission preliminary report that we're responding to. One of the core causes of the spiraling housing crisis is a lack of production. In recent decades, New York has built far less housing than is needed to keep up with demand, driving gentrification, displacement, segregation, and tenant harassment. At the same time, while some neighborhoods have seen transformative levels of growth, others have added scarcely any new housing. From 2014 to 2024, just 12 community districts added as much housing as the other 47 combined. That uneven production helps explain why, despite the city's commitment to fair housing, integration, and anti-discrimination, New York metropolitan area remains among the most racially segregated in the country. And then on the potential changes to ULURP and the current brokenness of it. For one, the length, cost, and uncertainty of proceeding through ULURP means it almost never enables small changes because ULURP is one size fits all, applying the same procedures to massive projects and modest ones. Only large proposals, which will bring in enough revenue to justify years of costs, are ever put forward. For another, because the local council member functionally has the final say on a project, proposals for land use changes are vanishingly rare in the districts of council members known to be opposed to additional housing, irrespective of citywide need. And the process particularly limits the council's ability to activate city-owned land for affordable housing, delaying badly needed projects and raising costs of construction. So the whole report is great. It's at nyc.gov/charter. And big picture, I think we should be encouraging these changes, not opposing them. Also, I think it would make sense to wait until the actual proposals that are going to be on the ballot are released before we provide our response. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryder. Next, I'm going to call on Rich Cacapolo.
Hi, Eugene, I was just not clear on point 12. It's more out of curiosity. It's the one about the roles changing. You say it recommends changes to the roles of all these people, the borough president, the speaker, et cetera, and there's generally diminishes the input and power of these entities. Who takes the power if everybody else is being diminished?
I'm sorry, could you say that?
Who gets more power if these roles are all being diminished?
So the mayor's commission wasn't specific with the way that the roles would necessarily change. They put forward some suggestions for how they could change. It seems that it's tilted a little bit in favor of the mayor having some veto power over the city council, where currently, the mayor doesn't execute that. And that seems to be kind of the unwritten. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Shirley?
The major thrust from what I can see is that the actions that have been suggested for the charter take away community input. And I think this is the basic thing. Communities do differ, they need different things. And yes, they need the housing, they need more responsiveness to what our needs are. So I fully support this resolution.
Thank you. And I think that's true. I think a lot of the actions we've seen in the past several years have been aimed at reducing community input in the name of streamlining or making things less expensive. But at the end of the day, it's about reducing the voice for public input. That seems to be, yeah, thank you.
Katie Bordenaro.
Oh, well, that's a big problem. Is that better now? Over there, Carter, is that better? Thank you. So anyway, the committee members who were able to be there had a good and fulsome discussion and were in agreement. I would say, in response to Ryder, our good colleague here, that a lot of good things that are happening in CB2 are because we, as a community board, are insisting on it. 388 Hudson Street would not be affordable housing if this group hadn't insisted on 100% affordable housing with a New York City Parks Department recreation center in the basement. That's something that we wanted. We are razor focused on Gansevoort Square, where we want more affordable housing, and we're fighting for that against the administration, which is, maybe we get to 25%. We're still focused on 100%. So I think that our community input is very important. And there are two commissions. There is a law which has recently been passed in Albany to try to get both commissions' results on the ballot at the same time. We've got the Mayor's Commission and the City Council Commission. In response to Ryder's comment about is it premature to comment, the committee has been working under the information that we have to vote now in order to meet the deadline for the Mayor's Commission response period. This is our last meeting before the deadline, so it may seem premature, but our voice won't be heard if we don't vote tonight. There may be some changes to that, but that's the information we have today. Has that been changed, Eugene?
That has not been changed, but I do want to talk about the timelines and why the committee took it up this month is because the public review, the period for public comment on the mayor's commissions is happening now. And that period wraps up the first week of July. So this is the only time that the committee could have taken this up in order for us to pass this at full board and be able to testify at the public hearings. And we have a public hearing coming up this coming Monday, and we have another public hearing coming up, I think it's July 3rd, 7th, July 7th. And that wraps up the period for public comment. And so the time is now. And I also do want to read a statement from the Mayor's Commission's report about ULURP, because I don't believe that ULURP is not useful. I think it's proven to be very successful. And the commission recognizes that. They say, quote, "The commission has not heard significant testimony suggesting that ULURP be replaced wholesale is a testament to its enduring success over the last 50 years." So it is a successful process. We've seen it work. If anything, it is a one-size-fits-all process, which we've also seen fault with because we have seen large rezonings come through that we also need to review in a very short time period of 90 days. And we struggle to review thousands of pages of zoning text changes, in a single application. So it's interesting that the commission didn't allocate or suggest increased time for a more complex application. They've only focused on decreasing the time. So that was very telling to us.
Are there any other comments on Sean?
Sure, Sean Ryan. I'm new, just so we're clear. So I moved here a couple years ago, and I worked closely with Scott Wiener and the YIMBY movement in California. And so I come from that background, which is it's the moral thing to do to build more housing and to build a lot of it. And every other excuse is not moral. And so the village, I've looked at the last 50 years of population data for the village and this district. We've lost population every decade. And the rent has gone to 5x and 6x. So at the end of the day, you have to build. And the question I have for this committee, which I'm new to, just so we're clear, is do we really believe we as a community board have gone out of our way to be a place to make sure that we can build more housing so more people can live here? And those of different income groups. And so that's when I look at, that's the only thing that I worry about is we have driven lower and lower middle class people out of this neighborhood. And so do I think this commission is perfect? This thing is perfect? No, I don't. But I think by and large, it's an improvement. Unless the people who have been on this board much longer than I have believe that we have become a place where we truly have gone out of our way to encourage large scale housing improvements, changes in this community. And if we haven't, then we haven't done our job.
So if I could respond to that, 388 Hudson, if I could just quickly speak first, 388 Hudson, which is still ongoing, and it's a housing development project that's happening at 388 Hudson. We successfully lobbied for more housing to be at that site. So when they when HPD originally came to us, we actually said, we think you can build more affordable housing at that location. And so they came back and had a proposal for increasing the amount of housing on that. And we also asked for 2 floors of a New York City Parks recreation center. And we've also are on the path to get that as well. So we're looking out for the community benefit, but it's notable that we asked for more housing because there are very few opportunities in our district to build. We have very few vacant lots. Everything is almost built on, we've recently done an analysis of free lots within CB2, and there was just a handful of lots that are still even available to develop. So we just don't have the production power of other districts in Manhattan or the other boroughs. So just the built landscape that we're looking at we're very limited in what we have. And so it's very precious when we have an available lot. And it's very important that we ask and demand for more housing to be built where we can.
Great, thanks. Janine Kiley, and then I'll call on Janet Lift next. So if we could get Janet a microphone, that would be great.
I'll hand her mine when I'm done. I want to just give some historical perspective since you asked that. I've been on the board for about a dozen years and been through the NYU rezoning was going on before I joined the board, but that was a private rezoning and it was all for mostly university space. So that was not a housing opportunity. I just want to take you through where Community Board 2 has pushed for affordable housing, and actually we got pushback from the city, and I want to talk about a few very adjacent sites as well. So in Hudson Square, that's probably the biggest rezoning because that was rezoned from manufacturing and office use to residential use. It was at 12 FAR. It was during the Bloomberg administration. If you go back and look online at the CB2 resolution, we wanted what is now called MIH, but that doesn't, and it was basically optional affordable housing. So you get the 20% bonus if you build affordable housing. And of course, nothing was built in there to allow, to prevent as an disincentive for office space, which we've seen being built there. Disney headquarters where housing was to be built. The biggest site, which is a vacant lot down on Canal Street, is also going to be office building. So CB2 was definitely asking for affordable housing. That was Trinity Real Estate, again, a private property owner that brought that. So I do want to point that out, and we were on top of that. The second I want to point out is the rezoning for 550 Washington Street, which is where the Google headquarters were. And that was proposed, there were basically 3 sites, the southern site, the middle site, and the northern site. And after CB2 opined on it, and basically there was supposed to be a hotel, affordable housing and market rate housing on both of the sites because it was private developer. There was a zoning text amendment to the ULURP. Not a zoning. I'm going to have it. I'll get you the actual wording, and I have all the links. But basically, Speaker Johnson and the mayor basically made a last-minute change that allowed office space to be built there. So it was a bait and switch. And we lost, I think, 500 units of housing, big chunk of which were affordable. And that is something that we basically were screwed out of. And it was a last minute bait and switch. And that was not Community Board 2. I'm sure you're going to disagree with Elizabeth Street Garden, but I just want to make sure I'm covering everything. And for 388 Hudson, CB2 was on the record passing a resolution as far back as 2015. That is 10 years ago in support of building affordable housing on that site. While we didn't mention 12 FAR, the resolution cites how much housing could have been built there, and that those numbers, because I helped write that resolution, were based on a 12 FAR. So we've been pushing for affordable housing. We were told, oh, it can't be done. We don't control the site, all these excuses, but that was a political will. I also want to say Zero Irving, which is an office building that is not in Community Board 2, is adjacent to Community Board 2. And I actually remember meeting with the then borough president on that, and that the RFP went out, and I wish I still saved a PDF of it, but it was for building office space or housing. It was a city-owned site, and all the powers that be in the city, and that was in Council District 2 and Community Board 3, were pushing for that site to be an office space with lower density. And I remember talking to borough president's staff about that. And I think David Gruber was at that meeting with me with his niece, who now works for Rebney, but at the time she worked for the city. And they all agreed that a lot of more housing could have been built there. So I just want to refute this. And I'm sure I'm missing something, but thanks for letting me share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I see there are some questions over here. So, I mean, it's fine, but if you can use your microphone so that people can hear what you're saying, even if it's not a question. If you could direct that maybe to Mark. I can't do anything about it up here, so that I'm not logged in. Is anyone else logged on Zoom? Okay. So if someone could maybe help Anita out separately and we can continue moving on with this discussion, thanks.
So I was.
Yes, Janet, well, I will
Thank
call
you.
on you next.
I just want to say I support Ryder. I think ULURP is seriously broken and it's way too long and tedious to get things done in this city, and it's sort of obvious. And I do support it, but I heard everything Janine said, and there are ways that we have been proactive, but we have a very mixed record. I mean, she mentioned Elizabeth Street Garden sort of off to the side. We fought very hard against the Soho rezoning, and we fought against City of Yes. So, if we're really pro-housing, it's give and take. I wouldn't say that we're perfect. And I will support Ryder on this because I would like to see what we're voting, the actual proposals are. Thank you.
So was there anybody else over here with the hand raised, or was it a technical thing? Okay, Chris Dignas, then Carter Booth, then Ritu Chaudhry.
Hey, I feel like a lot of people know that I'm about to do the broken record thing of 33% of the homeless people in New York City are children. To insist that we have to be the people approving of their housing for an extra 30 days is ludicrous to me. I'm voting no on this.
Thank you so much. So Carter and Susan, I apologize, I didn't see you.
I just wanted to make sure all the board members are signed up for our mailing list. Do you get our calendar each month? Because this discussion should be happening at the committee. And this is a waste of time, the board's time here at the full board, because the resolution's already been done, the input's already done. Come to the committee meetings. Thanks.
Thank you, Carter. Next, we will go to Ritu and then Susan Wittenberg. And Emma, you had your hand up.
Sorry, I'm just
Okay.
going to be really quick. I don't have
Sure.
a question. I just want to point out that there are three separate issues here. Number one is about whether or not and how much of community input we should have. That's the first thing that the resolution tries to address. Second of all, with respect to housing, we don't seem to have a problem with creating market rate housing. It's only affordable housing that we seem to have a problem with. And the only way we can get that is by having and ensuring community input. That's it.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Susan Wittenberg, then Emma Smith, and then we'll go to Ryder Kessler.
All right. One small historical comment about the Soho Noho rezoning. We fought very hard for more housing in that and more affordable housing, which we always do. The city didn't listen to the community and prioritized it for business development because they identified it as an exceptional transportation hub.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Emma Smith, and then we'll go to Ryder Kessler. Okay.
I agree with several of the points captured in the resolution. I really appreciate the committee's thorough review of these things always, especially agreeing with points around timing and reallocation of power to different stakeholders across the city. I do share the concern that the overall tone of the resolution reads negative. I think that community input is of the utmost importance. I really do. And I agree with others who have spoken to the fact that our board does work hard to advocate for more housing when those opportunities arise. That said, this is a citywide charter revision, and I don't think it's very disputable that like across the city, the status quo process-wise is not working. So taken as a whole and kind of zooming out, I think there are clear opportunities to improve the ULURP process so as not to privilege certain voices over others and to kind of at this macro level ensure that we are better able to meet the needs of New Yorkers in a flexible way. So again, while I agree with several of the items captured in the resolution, I do not overall support the kind of tone and lack of support for the review and updates overall. To is people's time. Yeah. I just think that this is a very legitimate forum for discussion when folks try to go to committee meetings and do their best. So I think good that folks feel that they have the place to be heard and that the public also has the ability to be privy to a central full vision.
Did you have something to say, Carter? If you could get a microphone. I'm going to go to Zachary Kazaz next. Since we haven't heard from him, then we'll go to Carter and Ryder. Or we'll go to Ryder and then Carter. No, we will go to Zachary Kazaz because we have not heard from him yet. Then we will go to Ryder and then we will go to Carter.
Thank you, Valerie. And thank you to the Land Use Committee for this, I think, very comprehensive analysis of the commission on this and the broad changes they're trying to make. I think Ritu stated it really well in that there are a few different components that, sorry, can you not hear me very well?
No.
Okay, it's okay? It's okay? Okay.
Better, yes.
Given that there are a few different components, again, Ritu, thanks for laying that out really well, kind of between the community input, the length of time of the ULIP process, and kind of how the overall roles and responsibilities are coming together. I similarly am having a little trouble kind of supporting this as effectively an omnibus. You know, there are components of this that I think are extremely important, and the ULIP review process being 90 days, you know, that feels like a long time, but is quite short, and compressing it by 30 days wouldn't have a big impact. Whereas other issues where we're talking about additional investment in infrastructure and local services, that to me feels more like a talking point that we often hear out in Queens and Brooklyn in the outer boroughs, but not often really an issue in talking about Manhattan, where we have such anemic growth in housing stock. So, you know, kind of aligning here with some of the points that Emma was making as well, that it seems a little too strident, I think, at this point, given what we know. And Eugene, you know, I had emailed you a little bit ago, but, you know, I think we're kind of missing the point in thinking about what's possible with new construction, because yeah, I live on 13th and there are now 3 buildings that have gone up very quickly just nearby, 2 on the corner of 14th and 6th, and another one that's going up at the corner of 13th and 5th, that are luxury high rises, exclusively luxury apartments. And I think we're missing an opportunity here to actually propose that we expand the ULURP process to actually be able to bring community input into those commercial buildings, and use our voice to try and signal that in a broader sense when it's beyond just a simple reestablishing or a renovation of a building. That's all for me. Thank you.
We had Ryder next, then Katie. Ryder, go ahead. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, Ryder, then Carter, then Katie and Sean.
2 quick points. One, I think New York City does not just have a hard time building income restricted affordable housing. We also do have a hard time building market rate housing. We permit very little. In 2022, we permitted 3 units per 100,000 people. Austin, by comparison, permitted 18 per 100,000 people. They've now seen rents decline citywide for about 1.5 years going. So we need to facilitate more homes of all types. The reason we need affordable housing so desperately is because market rate housing isn't affordable because we're not building enough of it. Any new market rate housing built in this kind of supply crunch is going to be quote unquote luxury because there just isn't enough of it. I live in the West Village. In 2024, we had a net loss of units because we didn't add more and we lost units to apartment combination. From 2010 to 2017, a different data set, we also had a net loss. So we are not adding affordable housing or market rate housing at the pace that we need to keep affordability available for everyone, both naturally in the market and through income restricted units. On the second point, to coming to the committee, to Emma's point, not everyone can go to 3 meetings a month. Also, I think the new members don't yet know to go to every committee if they want to be heard at that stage. Also, I'll say during the City of Yes discussions, I went to 5 land use committee meetings to weigh in, hoping that that forum would be one where my perspective might be integrated into what the committee created. And it ultimately wasn't. So it also helped to have the full board as a forum to voice all these different perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryder. Next, we have Carter Booth.
I just want to go back to, this was something that Rich had brought up, you know, when you're talking about power being diminished, this and that. And one of the important issues here is that there are competing charter commission groups. And the mayor's charter commission group takes precedent, and that just jumps to the head of the line. So while there are many issues that are being, the city council is trying to address through their process, it won't go on to the ballot as long as the mayor is in motion on his. And so the stridentness of addressing this misses some of the politics that's at play, and that these conversations are happening, but the mayor controls this process. In this particular charter revision that's before us, if we want to give input on what ends up on the ballot, this is the time that we give that input, because once it's been decided, it's done, and that's what goes on the ballot. That's why they're soliciting the input now. And as far as the committee meetings, you know, I think that when people come and they speak multiple times, as Ryder did, people hear what you have to say. And I think that more things than you can imagine actually went in to City of Yes, perhaps not your top level, but people certainly hear your concerns and it's talked about. And there's a conversation that, and you know, this is just like the mayor wants to override the charter by changing the charter to allow a 3-panel non-elected group to override city council. You know, we vote on things here and people vote, and that's what ends up, and that's how our resolutions come out. But there's a lot of misinformation if you haven't gone back and listened to the committee hearing. There could also have been misinformation at the committee hearing, but a lot of things were discussed that lead to where this resolution is. And larger talking points aren't always as helpful in this, because our own community and how we integrate with ULURP is really important, I think, in keeping that voice so that we can get positive changes. To eliminate that is just more reduction in housing and luxury units that are built. I mean, we were told this is where that stuff gets built. We're also told by the city economic development and office buildings are really important. We have a Disney headquarters in a full city block that could have been housing. We have a property that Janine referenced that was supposed to be housing with the school, and now it's an office building. We have another huge site of a 30-story building that is an office building instead of housing on the Bowery. I mean, it just, the voice in the process is important because it allows the push for housing in our community. Eliminating the voice means the money takes over and you get office buildings. That's what happens here. And you could just look around and you will see the development or luxury. And it's not, I think, the housing that when we talk about housing, people want to see. And so.
Thank you. So next we're going to Katie Bordenaro, then we're going to Sean Sweeney, then we'll go to Arturo Fernandez.
Is it on? Okay. Thank you. I wanted to first say something to Sean Ryan. One of the things that we face in this community is not just apartment combinations, but building combinations. So we have townhouses that formerly had 4 or 8 rent-regulated apartments turn into one turned back into a single family home, which it was originally built at. And then they add the one next door. So now they've eliminated, 8 to 10 or 20 apartments and turned those into one dwelling. I was sort of fooling around with some rhyming today, Billionaires Row or the Village Billionaire Chateau. I couldn't find anything to rhyme with row. Just trying to lighten it up. Thank you, Carter, for pointing out, and I think this is really important. There were 2 commission reports. We're mostly responding to the mayor's commission, which is really negative about community input. Many of us have been trying to say tonight how powerful and impactful our input has been and how positive it has been for housing. The City Council's commission, which is much less robust so far, is something that I think we could work with, and we could accept many things in it. But it's not first in line yet. Senator Kruger is trying to get them sort of equalized, but that's not finalized because the governor has to sign this legislation. So we are very critical of the mayor on this issue, as on many other issues, and so that I think impacts the tone. I think it's very interesting what Zach had to say. I have 2 reflections about your comments, Zach. First of all, this whole, because I know we've talked a little bit about those buildings on 14th Street. These are as of right projects, and we don't have a role in them. Perhaps that's something that the City Council Commission would be open to including, because they are more expansive. But it is not true about infrastructure. In the 90s and the 2000s, when Giuliani was mayor, this community faced variance after variance in the neighborhood where I live, on the far, by the river. And we were dealing with poor never constructed residential infrastructure. There were no sewers, there were no gas lines. These were lumber yards and trucking depots. And so this was something that would come in these variances. We would say, how can you put hundreds of apartments where there are no built sewers? We don't even know. They would dig up the streets and there'd be Civil War sewers there. in some of these areas. So it is something that we faced, and it's something that's a little bit raw because some areas are not well provided for, and that's why one of the reasons we were pointing it out. So, you know, some of these things reflect our experience over a long period of time. Who's next?
Thank
Who do
you,
I give it
Katie. So next we have Sean Sweeney, and then we'll go to Arturo Fernandez.
Yeah, I'd like to get to the root of this problem or this issue. And it's coming from the mayor's office. And I remember back when he was borough president of Brooklyn, people, community activists there were saying this guy sleeps with the real estate industry and the construction industry. And I think history has proved that's correct. His administration is tainted. And I just cannot support anything that comes out of this tainted administration that would diminish the power of this community board. I think we need longer ULURP times. All that does is benefit the developers. They have to pay less on their mortgage, on their loans to the bank. So I strongly recommend, just for decency's sake, that we reject this mayor's proposal.
Thank you, Sean. Next, we're going to go to Arturo Fernandez.
Thank you. I think at the committee level, we had a lot of struggles with this because it really felt like it was taking away the community voice. It really felt like they were trying to impose a one-size-fits-all type of structure, and it left a lot of important detail out. The mayor's commission proposal lacked detail and left it to the imagination in terms of what the parameters were for some of these changes, how they could be implemented, who would gain decision-making authority, and how the public would remain involved. And I think, although in general, I personally think there are some, in theory, some small changes that could be streamlined. In the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission, they didn't really acknowledge that these are all relative to each community, and one size fits all just doesn't really work. So I think it's important in the context of the mayor's approach to the Charter Revision Committee and their approach to putting proposals on the ballots, which a lot of folks have already noted, you know, putting their proposals above the city council's proposals. The question is, who does this benefit and why? And so the timing is critical because some folks said, why are we taking this, you know, action now? Why are we voting on this proposal now? Well, it's important to share our voice on these cloudy proposals so the mayor's commission knows where we stand and will ideally use our input to craft their ballot proposals. That's why I support this resolution.
Thank you, Arturo. Do we have any other comments? I have Shirley Secunda here in the room. Is there anyone online, board member wise, that has their hand raised? Thanks.
Okay. I think most of what needs to be said has been said. I just want to stress again, just down to the basics, ULURP. Yes, ULURP definitely needs improvement. However, it is really communities' only path to give their input on discretionary decisions. And what has been proposed for a revised charter would take that privilege away a great deal. And so I just am approaching it from purely a process point of view that it will diminish the process for communities.
Thank you, Shirley. Is no one online with their hand raised and no one else in the room? Okay, so let me just pull this up. Is there any unwillingness to vote on land use item 1? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Let's have those hands raised and we'll have Emma Smith, our folks.
Rocio,
I was in favor. My hand may have been the wrong time.
Matthew, Ben, Chris, Ryder, yes, Juliet, Sean Ryan, Emma Smith. Any with a hand still up?
Anyone else opposed? Is there anyone opposed online?
Accuracy, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any board members opposed online. Any abstentions? Okay, we have one right over here.
Wait, where's my other abstention?
With
Sorry.
Nina Chen.
Thanks, Erica. And Zach.
Is there someone online? Okay.
Okay. Zach.
And did you get Nina Chen?
No.
Okay, Nina Chen. Great, thank you. Any recusals on lane use item 1? Okay, could you please give us the vote tally? While Emma does that, and before we go on, before Emma gets that tally, I will quickly add something that I forgot to mention in the chair's report, that the Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting that was scheduled on Tuesday, June 24th has been postponed since it is primary election day. The topics on the June agenda will be covered at the July 29th Traffic and Transportation meeting. Emma, you ready?
Yeah, thank you. That is 9 opposed, 3 abstentions. So this passes.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Next, we're going to go to Chenault Spence for the landmarks report with 7 resolutions to vote on.
344 Bowery, a very unusual one for us. This is a work of art painted on the wall of a building, and as being classified as a work of art, it does not fall under the regulations, which are very strict about wall signs. It's where we use our aesthetic and history of the village and the nature of the village to make the judgment rather than on technical matters. I encourage everyone to read whereas K, which is bolded for good reason if you have not, which gives the predicate for our whole conclusion. We're recommending denial of using the out-of-scale photorealistic image of Besquet in that it, rather than celebrating the impact of the artist's work, it is historically significant connection to the district and appropriate to the artist's likeness, creating an unfortunate reminder of the commercial exploitation of the artist, who famously expressed concern about being seen as in the art world as a mascot during his tragically short life. Denial of the execution of the work. This was extremely fuzzy about the circumstance, how it would be done. Specifically, it is not to be maintained with the idea that it would fade over time on purpose, and it's in a place where graffiti is invited. C, the denial as not serving the stated purpose as an homage to Basquiat and not reflecting the cultural significance of Basquiat's work within the context of the historic district, but rather serving an individual self-interest, one of which appears to be commercial on the part of the artist who would paint it. 81 Spring Street, approval of paint changes and denial of installation of a flag, a very big thing in the district of Soho and on this particular street, and there are trees in the way and so forth. There was a great deal of public comment about this. 225 West 4th Street, recommend denial of a neon sign as unsuitable to the building or the district, and that it be removed and be replaced with a painted sign. This application came to us specifically saying under questioning that they would not have any illuminated signs, and they put this up instead, and they've also added some very unattractive and streaky spotlights to the other painted sign. 43 Bleecker Street. This is a case where we wanted to save it because it was almost right, but not quite. Therefore, we're denying the infill unless it closely represents proportions and design of the historic photographs. Approve the restoration of grill work, which is historic and some is in place. Denial of a marquee, which is just a modern pair of marquees slapped onto the building in our view. And the question of ADA ramp, it simply occupies too much space for the situation where it lies, even though it's by inches within the regulation. And it has to do with circulation around the subway, and it's simply not viable. An approval of rooftop equipment and elevator bulkhead. 45th Avenue, one of the finest applications that has ever come to us to raise some railings that are made in the cast stone to conform to the regulation that there be a certain height on account of safety. And we recommend approval of this carefully designed, sensitive application. Bank Street is a complicated redoing of a building that's a very unusual building. It has came to us before. They made certain changes that we asked for, and the result was that one thing that we identified as bad, which is the visibility of a rooftop addition, was made worse by what they did to change. So we approved the front facade work and demolition of the non-historic rear extension, denial of rooftop construction unless the height is reduced by moving the mechanical equipment, denial of the rear extension unless it's in line with the extension of the adjacent house. That has to do with preserving the historic upper floor, which we always request, and the commission is almost always requesting that. And approval of the rear yard excavation with the usual that it not endanger the building or neighbors. 460 West Broadway is a simple penthouse that is completely hidden and approved.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So we have items 1 through 7 for landmarks. Does anyone have any clarification questions? Okay, see Janet Liff in the back. If we could get a microphone to Janet. And who else had their hand raised? Okay, Arturo, if you could get a microphone so we will be ready.
I just have a question about the handicap ramp that you said was intrusive. I'm actually working with someone who represents people with disabilities. I'm sorry.
It's not at all to not have it. It's just that it be redesigned in some way. The practical thing is there is a way that it can be partly inside the building.
Okay, so you
Just a bad, there are other
alternative.
designs, and this is a bad choice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and next we had Arturo Fernandez.
I guess I had a question for the committee. If somebody can, what are the parameters, for example, for approval? This is on item 1. So it sounded like this was a subjective, assessment of whether this was appropriate as a piece of art or in terms of how it would fade away. What would be appropriate in this case? I think I'm kind of wondering what would meet the muster.
Susan Gammy, would you like to address that?
We couldn't possibly say theoretically because this is the piece that was before us. It's subjective only because it's submitted as a work of art and therefore cannot fall under the regulations. Normally anything painted is rather cut and dry because it's so strictly regulated. It has to follow the regulations, and there's not much one can do that would be disapproved of that falls outside. But it is an aesthetic in the other half of our name that's never used decision.
Thank you, Chanel. Susan Gammy, you wanted to add something in?
Just to clarify, Arturo, it's funny to talk into a microphone when you're sitting right there. But anyway, just to clarify, typically wall signs have very strict parameters at the Landmarks Preservation Commissions requiring that they be pulled in a certain amount of feet from the front facade of the building, that there be a certain ratio of visual imagery, there's color, there's all kinds of standards. When something is called an art project, those standards don't exist. So there is no metric for evaluating the mural then with those standards, leaving the aesthetic as what is left to discuss. Does that help answer your question? Okay, great.
Yeah, and as a
But
reminder,
we would-
really quick, Chenault, as a reminder, this committee is called Landmark and Public Aesthetics.
And
Chenault.
just add that, or say again, that we probably would not have approved this even if it had adhered to the regulations about where it's set back its size in proportion to the size of the wall and so forth, because of all the other things that I spoke about.
Yeah, if I could just also have one other thing. I think it was also, it's a paragraph G on the resolution, but I think there was also a question whether this was purely art, because it seemed that the artist could stand to benefit materially, financially from the image, because he sold, art related to, I mean, he owned Basquiat, and he could stand to gain from promoting the image. So there was some question as to whether it was truly art or advertising.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments or discussion that people want to have? Is there anyone online? Okay. Is there any unwillingness to vote on landmarks items 1 through 7? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Yes, Ryder? Could you get a microphone? I'm not sure which one you're raising your hand on now.
I'm going to abstain on number 1.
Okay. Did you get that, Emma? Okay, great. Okay, great. Next, we're going to go to Erica Olson for the Street Activities and Resiliency Report with 21 resolutions and 1 FYI renewal to vote on.
I'll try and go fast. Nice weather, more activities. Okay, we had 21 applications, 1 FYI renewal, 11 of which have already occurred, but I will go over them. On June 6th, Tory Burch and Bonbon in Gansevoort Plaza, we unanimously approved. They did do a good job of staying within plaza bounds. Thank you, Donna. June 6th to June 8th, Porsche on Mulberry. I know a lot of people have mentioned Aimé Leon Dior has been problematic in the past. They did show up and talk to us, so that's a step in the right direction. If anybody has any pictures or feedback from that, we welcome it. Number 3, June 6th was Way Super Dry, Lafayette between Prince and Spring. We did unanimously approve, but later saw that they had sprayed ads all over the street. So Will and I have left comments to SAPO regarding as much, and I've been in contact with the production company, which we're trying to do more of generally. Number 4, June 7th, Mute by JL. We unanimously approved that, but they ended up withdrawing their app due to weather. Number 5, Resistorhood. This was actually an open culture event, which we love to see and encourage more of. It was a musical, it was a shut down the block for a musical performance, unanimously approved. Number 6, June 8th, I don't know how to say it, Chapel X World Ocean Day Experience, free ocean themed undergarments on Lafayette between Bleecker and Houston, unanimous approval. Number 7, BOJ Coffee Cart. That's a Korean skincare brand. They wanted to put their coffee cart on Broadway between Prince and Spring. We unanimously denied this because that block is currently embargoed by SAPO. There's been too much, and so that embargo system is kind of a new thing that we support. Number 8, June 11th to June 13th. This is Longcomb's Idole House on Lafayette between Broome and Spring. This was also denied, save unanimously, save for one recusal, myself, because they illegally stickered the streets of Soho and NoHo, which again, we've been in contact with the production company and are trying to be more diligent about speaking to. June 11th through June 12th, beauty brand pop-up on Astor Place. This was the brand Shea Moisture. We did unanimously approve this, but since they also sprayed ads all over the sidewalk, which we've been in contact with. June 13th, Balayon summer pop-up, no show, unanimous deny. That brings us to today, June 18th. Carvel did a pop-up at Cooper Classic Cars, which we know and appreciate has been problematic and are working on that. We unanimously approved it, but if anyone has any intel on how that went, Will and I would welcome photos and any feedback. June 26th through July 2nd, Tank Air, which is a clothing brand, is doing a pop-up on Bowery between Houston and Prince. Unanimous approval, no issues. June 26th, I'm on number 13. Flaunt issue launch with MCM, no show, so unanimous denial. Same with number 14, Blue Air, also a no show, so unanimous denial. I'm on 15 that says Timmy, it's short for Then I Met You, which is another Korean skincare brand. They are doing a 2-truck pop-up activation on Broadway between Prince and Houston. Unanimous approval. And sorry, they moved it 1 block down, so it's not on the embargoed block. Number 16, July 1st, this is Built Cafe rent day event. They were a no-show, and so it was immediately a unanimous deny, but we're aware of the ongoing disruption here and noted it in our resolution. Number 17, July 3rd, this is a block party sponsored by The Door. And we unanimously approved it, although we did suggest I think they should be applying as a single block festival. Number 18, July 11th through 13th, is the skincare brand Sol de Janeiro. They are taking over Gansevoort Plaza. Unanimous approval. Also asked them to stay within plaza bounds given it's busy summertime. Number 19 is fun. It's a dog block party for a resident dog's birthday party for humans and dogs alike. Unanimous approval. 20, Gansevoort Plaza, new brand launch. It's for a smartphone brand where the applicant does not want to share the brand with us, which we noted in our resolution is not preferred by our committee because we like to know how popular the brand is to ascertain how many people are going to come. Regardless, we did unanimously approve. Last one, number 21, July 17th. This is a launch party for what we believe is an alcohol seltzer brand collab with Prince Street Pizza. They didn't show, so it's a unanimous denial, but you'll see we did note that Prince Street Pizza, even without a launch, already draws significant crowds and blocks the sidewalks and bike lanes. So those, did I say unanimously approved? Unanimously adopted? Unanimous denial, sorry. And then last one, our FYI renewal is I think it's the 2nd annual McDougal Street Mambo. They held this event last year. No major complaints or issues. So that was unanimously approved, save for 1 recusal. That's all 22.
Great. So we have items 1 through 22 for street activities and resiliency. Does anyone have any questions or want to discuss any items, or is there any unwillingness to vote on? Oh, sorry, Drashawn, can we get a microphone over here? Thanks.
Hi, I haven't met most of you, but my name is DJ. Really excited to be joining. I just wanted to touch on number 20, the brand launch that is for an unnamed brand. I find that pretty concerning that this event is completely centered around this brand. It's not necessarily like just a community event or anything like that. And their unwillingness to share what the brand is. There's no way to vet if it's problematic, if it's caused any issues in the past. It's also a 4-day event that takes place 9 hours every day. So it's not like a quick pop-up or like a single day event. So I think that sets kind of like a weird kind of like blank check type of precedent that brands that may have issues or have like come up before the community board and have been denied might just come back and say, oh, well, we're not going to say what brand this is anymore, but here's what the event is. And I think that I will be voting no on that, and I would urge many other people to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ. I don't, a writer.
Number 20.
Do you want to respond to that?
I'm happy to. So, I mean, a lot of these are under NDA. So the production company, who is usually the applicant in these situations, like their argument is they legally can't tell us. We try to get as much information as we can. We tend to agree with you, but also we've gone through the path of like, does every event, especially plaza events, have to have a community aspect? And by SAPO rules, they do not. We would probably prefer that they do, but those just aren't the rules. And therefore it doesn't kind of matter our opinion on that. So we have gone down that aspect, right? Or I don't know if you want to add.
Writer, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I will say a few months ago, we did deny one because they wouldn't even tell us the kind of product it was. It was like, and we were like, okay, we definitely don't know enough to approve. This one, it was like, okay, we know what kind of product. We have enough that even though we don't know which specific brand, if we feel like, you know, we felt good enough about it, but we have communicated to SAPO that we want to be able to know details, because if we don't have a full picture, we can't weigh in a fulsome way. So point absolutely heard.
It's one of the two major brands, is what we were told.
And just so everyone knows that SAPO is the Street Activities and Permits Office, just so everyone knows what that is.
Can I say one more thing before we vote? Will and I know a lot of people have reached out and talked about the uptick in a lot of activities, some legal, some not. Will and I are trying to do a much better job of tracking kind of, I guess, pop-up locations, producers, brands, and otherwise. So just if anybody has any pictures, like just be aware and send them to Will and I. That'll help us track going forward so we can be more diligent. That's very welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, and I really have to commend, I had this written as a note that, Erica Olson is the vice chair of this committee and Will Banesh is the chair of this committee, and they're doing an absolutely fantastic, proactive job. They're talking with, directly with retailers, or if it's a pop-up, they're just doing a really great job of really taking ownership. So thank you for all of your work. Okay, so with that, is there any unwillingness to vote on street activities and resiliency committee items 1 through 22? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any call-outs? Okay, Keen, okay, if we could raise your hands, and if you could get a microphone to say your name and what number, item number you're voting against. I know it's going to take a minute, but there are 22 items, and we just can't have everyone yelling out. And if you could state your name so that people online know who is voting and what your vote is.
So I'm yes on everything, but no on 20. I'm Keen Berger.
Thank you.
Yes, 20, abstain.
Okay, I haven't called for abstentions yet, but that's fine. If we could get that abstention, I will make a separate call for abstentions. Okay, if yes, DJ?
Number 20, I vote no.
Okay. Any other no votes that are call outs? Okay, any abstentions? Please raise your hand online or in the room. Any recusals? Okay, so I've got one back here. Yes.
Erica Olson recusing on number 8. 8, sorry.
And reason.
And Longhome's parent company, L'Oreal, is the client of my business.
Great, thank you. And we have one over here. We could pass the microphone. Okay, thank you.
I'm recusing on number 22 in an abundance of caution. I do not know whether any tenants of mine are participating in this one.
Okay, so that's Rocio Sands with recusal as well. You have, okay.
Yeah. I'm recusing, Donna Raftery recusing on items 1, 18, and 20. I am a voting member of the Meatpacking Bid Board.
Okay, Thank you very much. Okay, so next we're going to go to Shirley Secunda for the Traffic and Transportation Committee report. Can we have some help adjusting the microphone? Thank you.
Wait. Trying to get it up a little.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay. Yes, okay. So we had two resolutions, both unanimously approved. The first one, I have to give thanks to Amy Brenner for actually bringing the topic of accessoride to us and asking if we could look into it. So here we go. And it is a resolution in support of expanding the customization and flexibility of accessoride while also updating its technology to improve program usability. Okay. So resolve that CB2 strongly supports the accessoride program and recognizes the important and life-changing role it plays in the city's public transportation system. Urges MTA New York City Transit to make public within the next 3 months the performance and usage data from the on-demand pilot program launched in 2017 so that an evaluation can be made by the end of 2025 about how and when to roll it out to all users. Requests that MTA New York City Transit release a plan with timeline and costs included to update systems and software so that trip routing is more direct and time efficient, scheduling is more flexible, digital taxi and rideshare reimbursements are available, ride booking is 24/7, reliable van tracking is available, and other user-friendly updates are rolled out. Urges that the out-of-pocket taxi option allows rides to begin and end in different boroughs, and recommends that to ensure the best possible user experience, training for TLC, that's the Taxi Limousine Commission, and private carrier drivers is upgraded to match the training that accessoride drivers receive so that they learn how to support those with disabilities and different kinds of disabilities, and to require that they speak English. Asks that the enrollment process be made more user-friendly, for example, by providing additional and more convenient enrollment centers in each borough and offering teleconferencing enrollment. And the second resolution was in response to an application for a revocable consent to construct, maintain, and use underground anchors to support a flood wall protecting entry and exit of the Holland Tunnel. Be it resolved that CB2 supports approval of a revocable consent to construct, maintain, and use underground anchors to support a flood wall protecting entry and exit of the Holland Tunnel on the south side of Canal Street between Hudson and Varick Streets. As I said, both unanimous in favor.
Okay, so we have items 1 and 2 for traffic and transportation. Does anyone have any items they want to discuss? Questions? So I see Keenberger and Rocio Sands that have a question. So let's get, thank you, Erica.
I don't agree that we should require to speak English because I am using Google Translate, and Google Translate does communicate well if a person does not speak English. So I worry that that would be used to discriminate against Spanish-speaking people. And so
Yeah, okay, I'm not really familiar with how the driver would use Google Translate.
Right,
The problem that we heard from users was that it was a real problem communicating what they needed if
Yeah,
people
but there are
didn't
other
speak English.
solutions, and I really would object to having that in the requirement for the accessoride people to decide if someone speaks English well is not good.
So
me.
what would you suggest as an alternative?
Or
Because there is that problem.
Google Translate.
I would step
I
back.
mean, but thank you.
Or use Google Translate.
Yes, or.
Okay.
It's okay,
Okay,
but thank you.
I accept that.
Is that something, we would need to vote on that? There are no friendly amendments. So if we'd like to make a motion to make that change, we can make that motion and we can vote on that, but there are no friendly amendments. So would you like to make a motion to change that language? Okay, so can we get a microphone? So I'm just offering that up to the floor. If someone would like to make a motion to make that change, we will allow non-material changes such as a spelling, but this is going to change. So if you'd like to make a motion to put this on the floor, we can have a discussion about making this change.
Okay, I move that we add the language to speak English or be able to use Google Translate to this resolution. That's my motion.
And that's to which item, item 1, and then what number?
Item 1.
Under what therefore be it resolved? On number 5. Okay, so now is there any discussion on that, or are we ready to take a vote? Dr. Smith? Did you get the first
Yeah.
and second, Emma? Okay.
When I had my knee surgery, I used accessoride, and I disagree with due respect with what you said. My concern was that almost all of the drivers speak Russian, and the owners of the driving companies also are Russian people. And so if you're talking about English for drivers, I mean, they need to speak English, okay, as opposed to, I don't know if they're going to, you suggestion having some kind of device where they have to have translated. I don't know if you're speaking of English for the people who are being served or the people who are driving. Which ones are you referring to? Does it matter?
The resolution is for the people who are driving.
Who are driving? Okay,
Right.
thank you. I then disagree. That has not been my personal.
Okay, Rocio, I'm sorry I didn't call on you. I didn't know if you were, had a comment for
I would
this.
like to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I want to give many thanks to Amy Brenna for helping us at this committee level, that she brought in the 2 people, our guests, who were wonderful speakers, and they were on point, and they taught us so much. They taught me so much. So I want to thank Amy Brenner for bringing them in, number 1. Number 2, I just want to say that everything that Valerie said, I will say it again, but I'm not going to. You have done a great job. I appreciate you as a chairwoman of our committee, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You were welcoming me when I joined not so long ago, but I thank you for that very, very much.
Well, thank you. Let's vote on that.
Okay, so then we have Ryder and then Katie Bordnaro. Ryder.
Before we vote on the amendment, I would propose tweaking it to say speak English or effectively use translation technology. I think we should not limit it to Google Translate, especially with AI advances.
Okay, so it's, okay, that's fine.
Or effectively used.
Katie?
I have a technical question. Was this seconded? Did we get a second?
Yes.
I didn't hear that. Who seconded?
Can you tell us, Emma?
Oh, okay. Thank you. It wasn't clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the amendment? Is everyone comfortable voting on the amendment? Seeing there's no unwillingness to vote on the amendment? I'm sorry? Can someone help me with who's Zachary?
Oh yeah, sorry, just a quick one. I'm curious why we're calling out English in here. New York has many official languages, and just a quick Google, there are 2.5 million people who live in New York City who don't have proficient English. So I am like I'm a little confused what we're trying to solution here when a big swath of the population still is going to be uncovered from a language service perspective.
So Zachary, what you're saying is, why are we prescribing English as the language when there are native speakers of other languages in our city? And why would we prescribe that? Okay, just wanted to clarify
Yes.
that. And Ryder Kessler?
I think that's a great point, and so I would suggest we amend it to say require that they can effectively communicate with the rider.
Effectively
With
communicate
an I,
in
with
the
an I.
right, that they be matched, that riders be matched with a driver in their
That-
language?
That they have language proficiency in the language of the rider or can effectively use translation technology.
Okay. And do we have another hand raised? Susan Gammy?
I would suggest, I think this is an excellent point that Zach makes, and I would suggest just revising the amendment to say, recommends that all accessory drivers be provided with translation technology in order to be able to ride.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other, someone's going to need to write that down. Unless there's any opposition to me accepting that, without having to undo another motion, all that. So
Not, oh yeah, I guess it would be okay for all accessorized drivers, because this is really referring to, I think, a smaller group. I'm just trying to find the result.
so what is the language? Can someone kind of like type this out or write it down? Great.
But I'm gonna just speak. Oh, okay, thank. Suggest that.
Yeah.
In order to be. You're right.
Okay, oh, this was for, actually, this was the AAR drivers, I guess, do receive that kind of training. It actually had said that the for private services that provide accessorized service, because that's different from the accessorized drivers who actually drive the little vans. This is for people who do taxis and Uber. There's a really small amount, and actually they would like to have more of that kind of service. So can I just read it again so that we can kind of clarify exactly what should be said? Is that to ensure best user experience, training for taxi, limousine commission and private carrier drivers is upgraded to match the training that accessorized drivers receive, so that they learn how to support those with disability and different kinds of disabilities, and require that they speak English. So it is for that small segment. I gather that accessorized drivers already have that kind of training. So whatever way you want to
So
phrase that.
what we're adding is
be
after the
amended.
comma and what Emma said. Is that correct? Okay. Can you read that one more time? And then we'll take any other discussion and then we can vote on the amendment.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, okay. I lost my place in the resolution, but comma. Drivers, quote, be provided with translation technology in order to be able to effectively communicate with every rider.
Okay, great.
Simple
So,
enough.
is there any unwillingness to vote on this amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? The amendment passes. Now back to items 1 and 2. Is there any unwillingness to vote on amended item 1 and item 2? Okay. All those in favor for amended traffic and transportation, amended item 1 and item 2? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Those pass 1 and 2. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Donna Raftery for the SLA 1 report with 34 resolutions to vote on.
Okay. All right, so SLA 1, we had 45 applications and 33 resolutions. All the decisions were unanimous, unless I say otherwise, and all the decisions were deny unless with stipulations unless stated otherwise. And for the new board members, for any of you that weren't here last time, deny unless effectively means that we are recommending approval of the application provided the agreed to stipulations are executed by the applicant and are incorporated into the liquor license. So the first one, Cinque Restaurant Inc. doing business as Osteria Barocca, 133 Mulberry Street. This was alteration for roadway. So again, I'm not going to say that, I'm so used to saying the deny unless. So that's deny unless unanimous. I'm not going to keep saying that. 510 Soho Restaurant Group LLC, 510 Broome Street. This is an on-premise for a restaurant. Melvindale, New York LLC doing business as Jelena, New York at 45 Bond Street. This was a change in method of operation, and we need to add in, it's also an alteration for adding the dining out New York City roadway. Deny less. Broome Hotel owner LLC doing business as Wine on Broome, 431 Broome Street. Alteration to expand to the entire ground floor. This was a denial. Center for Emerging Culture Inc. doing business Lightning Society. That one was a layover, so that will move over to the layover section. Rethink Food USA doing business as Service 116 West Houston. This was a restaurant wine. Root Nulita doing business as Shushu Nulita at 371 Broome Street. This was a change in method of operation and the alteration to add roadway seating. Bonnie Restaurant LLC doing business as Bonnie and Mott at 238 Mott Street, store 4 and 5. This was a class change to upgrade to an on-premise license for restaurant. Iacus Corp. doing business as Old Fashioned Cafe, 110 Thompson Street. This was alteration to add roadway. That was a denial. Prince Sullivan doing business as The Dutch, 131 Sullivan Street. Alteration to add roadway. Isabel 196 Spring LLC doing business as Piccolo Cucina, 196 Spring Street. This was an alteration to add the open streets program. That was a denial. Victoria 196 LLC doing business as Piccolo Cucina Osteria at 194, 196 Spring Street. This was an alteration to add the open streets program, and that was a denial. Amity Street Inc. doing business as Amity Hall, 80 West 3rd Street. Alteration to add roadway. Gamma Thompson Corp. doing business as Blue Haven, 108 West Houston Street. This was a denial, and that was to add sidewalk and roadway. That was a denial, and it was also not unanimous. It was 5 in favor and 1 opposed. Cormac Flynn, I think I have that right. And then that's not the, I've got to look at that. Nuzo 21 Inc. doing business as Local 92, 244 Mulberry Street. Alteration to add roadway. Spring Lounge LLC, 209 Mulberry, also known as 48 Spring Street. Alteration to add sidewalk. That was a denial. And then the following were all municipal expansions that we waived their appearance, and they were all deny unless and unanimous. Bleecker Hospitality doing business as Bosco, 169 Bleecker Street. Alteration to add roadway. 164 Mulberry Street doing business as Danico, 164 Mulberry. Alteration to add roadway. 151 Bleecker doing business as Red Lion at 151 Bleecker. Alteration to add roadway. Cafe Vetro doing business as Epistrophe at 200 Mott Street. That was alteration to add roadway. Passano Rest Corp. doing business as Passano of Mulberry Street. 136 Mulberry. That was an alteration to add roadway. Cafe de la Venezia doing business as Cafe de la Venezia. 105 Mulberry. Alteration to add roadway. WLLC doing business as Woolley, 390 Broome Street, alteration to add roadway. Mulberry Street Bar, 176.5 Mulberry Street, alteration to add roadway. Osteria Piemonte Corp. doing business as San Carlo Osteria Piemonte at 90 Thompson Street, alteration to add roadway. BEF Restaurant Inc. doing business as Casa d'Angelo, New York City, 146 Mulberry Street, alteration to add roadway. 132 Mulberry Inc. doing business as Umberto's Clam House at 132 Mulberry, alteration to add roadway. H&M Restaurant doing business as La Bella Vita at 163 Mulberry, alteration to add sidewalk. Zia Maria Little Italy at 138 Mulberry Street, alteration to add roadway. Supernatural Restaurants doing business as Chloe at 185 Bleecker, alteration to add sidewalk. LSMC doing business as C. DePaulo at 151 Mott, alteration to add sidewalk. Il Carmen de Torte Restaurant LLC doing business as Casabella at 127A Mulberry, alteration to add roadway. Lamella Ristorante Italiano at 167, 169 Mulberry, alteration to add roadway. And Half Pint on Hudson at 234 Thompson, also known as 76 West 3rd, alteration to add roadway. So that leaves items 5 and 35 to 45 are layovers and withdrawals. Questions, comments?
Okay, so we have items 1 through 4 and 6 through 34. Is that correct to
That's
vote on?
correct.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or wants to discuss any of the items? I see Rocio Sands with her hand up. So if we could get Rocio a microphone, we can move this along. Again, if you know you're going to have a question, find yourself a microphone now. Thank you.
I have a few questions. I know SLA is. How long are the stipulations? How long are the stipulations in effect, and can those be withdrawn or removed? In what period of time will it be able to be removed? And I have other questions and comments, so if you could just answer that one
Yeah,
first.
if the stipulations are imposed, they would just have to return to change the stipulations. There's no time. The stipulations stay there until someone returns to change them.
So stipulations would say 20 years, 30 years?
If nobody wants to change.
As
them,
long
they
as
can
they,
stay. But
so
they-
if somebody comes back,
then
how
be changed.
How are they available to? Will the committee be responsive to those needs?
I believe that in
listen to every application, every notice that we get comes before the committee. So if somebody sends in a notification that to change something, they are put on the agenda and they come before the committee.
So to be clear, Donna, an operator at any time can file something and they will be heard. There is.
Yes.
Is that correct? Great, thanks.
So if there is a resolution, a stipulation that says that they have to close at 10 o'clock at night for the roadway dining, when can they come back to request an extended period of time?
Well, first their license has to be issued, right? The stipulation has to be incorporated into the liquor license, so that may take 2 months, 1 month, 6 months. There's no, people come before us, before the SLA committee, Community Board 2. We get notification before the applications are sent to the Liquor Authority. Then once the applications are sent to the Liquor Authority, they are processed. Those stipulations go with that. So it depends what type of an application it is. I mean, you can't return, an applicant cannot return for something that is not on the license. So it has to be on the license in order for them to
Or
return.
it has to be a stipulation that they agree to, and then they can come back. At what period
Well,
of
they
time
would
can they
have
come
a,
back the
sti-
next
can- I
time?
would just say
I'm
one
gonna
thing,
hop
they
in
would
here.
not have a stipulation if they didn't agree to it. I mean, otherwise the stipulations aren't part of the license.
I'm going to hop in here. Just so everyone knows, there are conditional approvals on the DOT side for both roadway and sidewalk cafes, but only five total of 5 fully licensed outdoor dining licenses have been issued for Dining Out NYC in CB2. So there are several that have conditional approvals. And so it's really hard, Rocio, at this time to understand when there's only been 5 full dining out NYC licenses issued in CB2 as to when people will return. There are several conditional approvals. And again, this backlog is not CB2. This is the agency DOT.
I also have more questions, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I noticed that certain applications have been awarded the 11 p.m. closing on the roadside dining. Can you please explain to us why this is? And it seemed to me that previously it was a committee decision to make sure everyone closes at 10 p.m. And now I'm seeing, for instance, number 22, the hours of operation until 11 p.m. Did they have a consultant working for them that helped them get this extra hour?
Okay, so.
Number
so-
22.
Yeah, got it. So what we have been saying in general, we haven't been saying everybody closing at 10 o'clock. That is not what the committee has said. What the committee has said is they are requesting all applicants who had no prior stipulations with CB2 regarding outdoor seating, either under the old sidewalk cafe program or the new DOT dining out New York City program, to agree to a closing of 10 p.m. nightly in order for the applicant to open quickly with the opportunity to return for later hours after the new dining out NYC applications have been processed and its impacts on the community can be evaluated. The impacts to surrounding residents of the dining out NYC program being untested, with multiple applications for outdoor seating in the immediate area coming before CB2, and most of those areas, many of those areas, had no previous outdoor dining. So they had 11 o'clock. They were on a sidewalk before. They cannot be on the sidewalk. Well, we'll see if they try to come for the sidewalk, but the sidewalk now with the new guidelines, you cannot fit sidewalk seating on those sidewalks and be ADA accessible. So they are all going out to the roadway. So it's a whole stretch of Mulberry Street that has had for, I mean, years sidewalk seating there. And so that was an accommodation that we made to them for that.
There are a few of them.
They were all, you know, I believe had sidewalk licenses that were unrestricted. So they were open until 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the morning previously, before the pandemic.
So in my reading all these, there are a few that this 11 p.m. was given to them. Number 27, number 28, number 29, number 32.
Theo,
Anyway,
as I
I don't
said,
get it.
as I
I mean,
said-
I thought from the beginning that
Let me do
the 10 o'clock was capricious, something that you guys came up with. All of a sudden, now I'm seeing what happened.
Well, you're not listening then, because what I
Yeah,
said.
because I
well, let me
don't
just-
understand what
let-
you're saying.
Let me just.
I guess my English is not good. Please.
Okay, if we
What
could,
I
if we could just, like,
said-
maybe
I
not
don't
the side
understand.
comment.
What I said was that we are requesting all applicants who had no prior stipulations with CB2 regarding outdoor seating, either under the old Sidewalk Cafe program or the new DOT Dining Out New York City program, to agree to a closing of 10 p.m. nightly. And again, what I also said was that we did not make a blanket statement. We look at each application and take it individually.
That's not my understanding from being on this community board for so many years with this new things that your committee decided that everybody has to close at 10 o'clock and that's it.
You go through and read the resolutions, that's not how it's been. So that may be what you're hearing, but go back and read the resolutions. They don't all say closing at 10 o'clock.
This is the first time that I'm seeing 11 o'clock.
Go back and read last month's resolutions and the months before that, because this is
Previous months, you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah, last month, there were a number of them that closed at 11 o'clock, and the month before that, there were a number of them that closed at 11 o'clock. This is not new.
All right. Is there any, I just kind of want to be respectful of everyone else's time. Again, we do encourage going to the committee meetings. You can watch the game tape from the meetings that are recorded. You can read past resolutions. So if there's not any other questions or discussion, I'd kind of like to get us to move on. I think I entertained that for just probably a bit too long, and I apologize. So is there any unwillingness to vote on SLA items 1 through 4 and 6 through 34? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Those passed. So next we will go over the SLA 2 report with 32 resolutions to vote on. Is that correct?
26 applications, 16 resolutions, and items 17 to 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Something's, yeah. Okay. And again, same thing. All decisions were deny unless, and all decisions were unanimous unless otherwise stated. Kennedy Organics LLC doing business as Charlie Bird, 5 King Street. This is an on-premise restaurant license, and this was a change in method of operation. Kosaka Inc. doing business as Kosaka, 220 West 13th Street. This was a class change to upgrade to an on-premise restaurant license. WSF&B LLC, 103 Waverly Place. This is an on-premise restaurant transfer. AV 7th Avenue LLC doing business as Atlantico Vineo, 89 7th Avenue South, also known as 16 Barrow. This was a tavern wine, and that was denied. 213 6th Avenue Riviera LLC doing business as Dean's at 213 6th Avenue. This was an on-premise for a restaurant. Boucherie LLC doing business as Boucherie, 97-99 7th Avenue South. This was an alteration to add sidewalk seating. That was a denial. Olio Restaurants LLC doing business as Olio et Pew, 3 Greenwich Avenue. This is an alteration to add sidewalk and roadway seating, and it was a denial. On the Corner New York LLC doing business as the Mary Lane, 99 Bank Street, alteration to add roadway. And then the following had their appearance waived. They were all deny unless and all unanimous. J.M. Williams LLC doing business as Buvette, 42-44 Grove Street, alteration to add roadway. DNA Cafe Coffee LLC doing business as 12 Chairs, 56 McDougal, alteration to add roadway. I can't say this one. Fiascheteria West LTD doing business as Fiascheteria Pistoia, 114 Christopher Street, alteration to add roadway. 51 Merchants LLC doing business as Via Carota, 51 Grove, alteration to add roadway. Box Hill doing business as King, 1618 King Street, alteration to add roadway. San Sabino LLC doing business as San Sabino, 113 Greenwich Avenue, alteration to add roadway. Rabtra LLC doing business as Art Bar, 52 8th Avenue, alteration to add sidewalk and roadway. And Film Forum, 209 West Houston. This was a corporate change. And then 17 to 26 were layovers or withdrawals.
Okay. So we have it's items 1 through 32. Is that right?
Items,
Oh, 1
no,
through 16?
1 through 16 and
Okay.
17 to 26 are layovers.
Oh, okay, so 1 through 16. Does anyone, for SLA 2, does anyone have any clarification questions? Discussion? Is there any unwillingness to vote on SLA 2 items 1 through 16? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a roll call. Oh, yes, thank you. It is a roll. Thank you. Sorry,
Thank you.
guys.
Sorry, folks. Here we go, though. Keenberger, Carter Booth, Katie Bordenaro. Thank you. Anita Brandt, Rich Cacapolo, Ritu Chatri. Oh, actually, I saw her leave. Okay. Nina Chen, Valerie De La Rosa,
Aye.
Chris Dignas, Arturo Fernandez, Mara Fitzgerald is, okay, still not here. Susan Gammy, David Gruber,
Yes to all.
thank you. JJ Herrera, TJ Jane, Juliet Kay, Zachary Kazaz,
Yes to all.
thank you. Susan Kent, Ryder Kessler, Janine Kiley, Patricia Laria, Janet Liff, Benjamin Listman, Ed Ma, Yes, he's waving. Yes to all, Ed? Thank you. Paul McDade? Erica Olson? Matthew Pereira? Donna Raftery? Lois Rakoff? Sean Ryan? Rocio Sands? Okay, recusal on 10. Thank you.
And can you state your reason, please? If you could please speak at the
Steel
microphone.
stands for recusing on number 10. 12 Chairs is my tenant.
Thank you.
Okay. Shirley Secunda? Emma Smith, yes to all. Dr. Shirley Smith? Thank you. Chenault Spence?
Yes.
Thank you, Sean. Sean Sweeney? He stepped out as well. Okay. Susan Wittenberg? Anthony Wong? Eugene Yu?
Yes.
Thank you. And I apologize. I usually read the vote back. Everyone was yes, except for Rocio recusing on one item.
On
Thank
number
you.
10, correct? Thanks. Great, thank you. So there are two committee reports with resolutions in your packets that you can read later. Human Services Committee report and the Parks and Waterfront report. Excuse me? I said reports. Oh, without resolutions, excuse me. Yes, as it says on the agenda. Thank you. So thank you for the work of those two committees. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up? Excuse me? Okay, if you could just, I can't speak over you. So is there any new business, anyone in the room or online? And when I'm asking that, I'm asking for board members with new business they'd like to bring up. Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? I see Dr. Smith and Susan Kent. So thank you. This meeting is now adjourned. It is 9:33. Thank you very much.